Chapter 849. Hearing this voice, Xiaoping looked over and saw a man in a black suit coming over. He was tall 95 meters, with bulging muscles and a scar on his face. He stood there, exuding a violent momentum just like a furious lion. The people around him were oppressed by his momentum and could hardly get close. At this moment his eyes were red, staring at Xiaoping with murderous eyes. "Who are you?" Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He had never seen this guy before, but he didn't know why the man seemed to be very angry with him and even had a trace of killing intent. "My name is Wang Dongqing, Wang Rulong's elder brother." The man in black stared at Xiaoping and said, "Let me ask you something. Wang Rulong and my uncle Tong also went to the Myriad Treasures Island. Did you see them?" He knew that Wang Rulong and his uncle Tong had gone to the Myriad Treasures Island to hunt down Xiaoping. It was impossible for them not to have met Xiaoping. But now Wang Rulong, Wang Tong, and a large number of elites of the Wang family had disappeared. There was no news from the Myriad Treasures Island, which shocked the Wang family. After all, they were a large number of masters of the Wang family. If they died on the Myriad Treasures Island, it would be an unimaginable loss for the Wang family. He had been unable to contact Xiaoping before, so he had no way to know what had happened to Wang Rulong and Wang Tong. Now that he finally had the opportunity to meet them here, he immediately went forward to ask. "I see, it's Wang Rulong's elder brother. I did see them on the Myriad Treasures Island." Xiaoping nodded. Not only had he seen them, but he had also killed all of them, not leaving a single one alive. He reckoned that they had all become food for the monsters on Treasure Island, with not even their bones remaining. "What?" Wang Dongqing immediately asked. "Where are they now? Why haven't they come back after such a long time on the Myriad Treasures Island?" "Maybe they are dead," Xiaoping said casually. Wang Dongqing's expression immediately changed. "Impossible. My uncle Tong has reached the 6th stage of the Supreme Power Realm. He can come and go freely on the Myriad Treasures Island. There are also a large number of masters of the Wang family. What could kill them? Did you secretly murder them?" He was very suspicious. After all, Wang Rulong and the others had planned to plot against Xiaoping. Since they had met, there must have been a conflict. Perhaps Xiaoping had used a trick to kill his brother and uncle. "You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want." Xiaoping stood with his hands clasped behind his back and flatly denied, "Why would I murder a human grandmaster for no reason? Each of them is a treasure of the human race, the main force in the fight against the demon race. Each of them is extremely important. Although you said that Wang Tong and the others are grandmasters and it is impossible for them to die on Myriad Treasures Island, the truth is that even the 5 great demon kings died this time. Who else can't die? Maybe they were unlucky to encounter the 5 great demon kings and were killed like bugs." When the people in the surroundings heard this, they nodded in agreement. This was indeed very possible. Only a king tier would be able to kill a large number of evolved Jing masters and not a single one of them could escape. If the people of the Wang clan were to encounter the 5 great demon kings, they would truly be out of luck. If they were all killed, it was only natural that they wouldn't be able to send news back. This is just your side of the story. Where is the evidence? What evidence do you have to prove that you didn't murder them? Wang Dongqing sneered. He didn't believe Xiaoping's words at all. "Follow me to the laboratory and take a lie detector test. If you can prove that you didn't lie under the laboratory, then I will believe you." He wanted Xiaoping to take a lie detector test to prove whether Xiaoping's words were true or not. Nowadays technology was extremely advanced. Under the equipment, it could basically detect that more than 99% of people were lying. It was extremely advanced and was specially used to solve cases, detect spies and so on. Lie detector test. Xiaoping sneered. If a tiger didn't show its might, it would be treated as a sick cat. This Wang Dongqing was really insatiable. Who did he think Xiaoping was? Who did he think he was? The surrounding grandmasters all frowned. They felt that Wang Dongqing was a bit too much. Asking a grandmaster to take a lie detector test was a great insult. It was clearly doubting the character of a grandmaster. If it wasn't to the point of no return, no one would do such a thing. However, this Wang Dongqing was using a groundless accusation to ask Xiaoping to take a lie detector test. He simply didn't put Xiaoping in his eyes. If Xiaoping was an ordinary person, then it would be fine. However, Xiaoping was a grandmaster. His status was noble. How could he be tested so easily? What did it mean to be a grandmaster? Interesting. If I take the lie detector test and prove that I didn't lie, then shouldn't you go die and commit suicide as an apology? Xiaoping sneered. He stared at Wang Dongqing with a murderous look in his eyes. He wasn't afraid of the lie detector test at all. With the system here, no high-tech equipment could have any effect on him. No matter how many times he was tested, what he said was the truth. However, just because he wasn't afraid of the lie detector test didn't mean that he would let Wang Dongqing do whatever he wanted. Commit suicide as an apology? What are you talking about? If you prove that you didn't lie, then you will be able to prove your innocence. This will eliminate a great enemy of my Wang clan. This is the greatest benefit. Yet, you want me to commit suicide as an apology? Are you crazy? Wang Dongqing felt that Xiaoping was crazy. He asked Xiaoping to take a lie detector test for the sake of the other party and to prove his innocence. Now, he actually wanted him to commit suicide as an apology. If this wasn't crazy, then what was? Daring to insult a grandmaster is a capital offense. Xiaoping's killing intent soared. Using a groundless accusation to slander me is the greatest insult to a grandmaster. If I don't die as an apology, how can I appease the anger of a grandmaster? You want me to take a lie detector test? Sure, but you have to pay the price. Bet your life. Once I prove that I didn't lie, then you can die. You don't even have this kind of awareness, yet you want to slander a grandmaster? What kind of place do you think this is? What kind of person do you think a grandmaster is? Do you think that by relying on the Wang clan, you can do whatever you want in the giant company? Let me tell you, you have come to the wrong place. Many grandmasters deeply agreed. Grandmasters were lofty existences. Other than kings, they were the strongest. In the military, they would be generals, marshals, and in the various martial arts organizations, they would be higher-ups with high status and authority. How could such a character be so easily humiliated? Daring to question a grandmaster without paying the price? Where was the dignity of a grandmaster? Did he think a grandmaster was a nobody? Wang Dongqing was shocked and angered. He thought that with the power of the Wang clan, even if this brat was a grandmaster, how would he dare to offend the King clan? Wouldn't it be easy to intimidate him a little? But now this brat was extremely arrogant. If he wanted him to take a lie detector test, he would have to pay with his life. Chapter 850. Tell me, do you dare to take the bet? Xiaoping looked down and said aggressively, I'll take the lie test with your life. Don't you think I murdered Wang Rulong and the others? Why don't you dare to take the bet? As long as it's proven that I'm lying, I won't have to die. Of course, once it's proven that I'm telling the truth, you'll be insulting a guru, and you'll have to pay for it with your life. He forced Wang Dongqing, giving him only two choices. Meh. Wang Dongqing was so angry that his face turned blue and purple. As a direct descendant of the Wang family and an expert at the 5th level of the Supreme Power Realm, he had been superior since he was a child. He had never encountered such a dilemma. Although he suspected that the disappearance of his younger brothers Wang Rulong and Wang Tong had a lot to do with this guy, he was not 100% sure. If this guy really didn't lie, he would be dead. He would have to be crazy to gamble with his life on such an ambiguous matter. Let's go and make a life and death contract now. Don't you want to know the truth? Let's go to the lie test now. Xiaoping didn't wait for Wang Dongqing's reply and grabbed him with his big hand. Boom. This gigantic hand seemed to be able to pierce through the void. No air was able to obstruct this gigantic hand at all. The 5 fingers of this hand carried with it a terrifying force. In the air there were dozens of qi strengths. These qi strengths were like tough nylon ropes, instantly covering Wang Dongqing in the air. It was like an eagle trying to catch a chick, trying to capture Wang Dongqing. Bastard, what do you want to do? Wang Dongqing's hair stood on end, and he had goosebumps all over his body. An uncontrollable fear spread all over his body, as if he had fallen into an ice cave. He felt that Xiaoping's claw was extremely terrible. It was not like a rookie who had just entered the Supreme Power Realm, but a big shot who had been immersed in the Supreme Power Realm for decades. His every move seemed to have the momentum to attract the power of heaven and earth. When the claw came, he felt that he couldn't move it, which reminded him of the powerlessness of drowning in the ocean when he didn't know how to swim when he was a child. It seemed that at this moment his body was completely locked by the opponent, and there was nowhere to escape. But Wang Dongqing was also at the 5th level of the Supreme Power Realm, and his Gang Qi was incredibly strong. When he used the Wang family's unique skill, the Azure Dragon skill, there seemed to be an Azure Dragon roaring in the void. Dong. A violent protective Gang Qi erupted from his body, trying to shake off Xiaoping's claw. But it was useless. Xiaoping was not an ignorant person today. He had been promoted to the 4th heaven of Supreme Power Realm, absorbed the geocentric Ganoderma, and also absorbed the soul crystal to strengthen his soul. His strength had reached an incredible level. Even an ordinary master at the 7th heaven of Supreme Realm would probably be beaten to a pulp by Xia Ping now. Anyone below the 6th heaven of Supreme Realm would be killed by him with one punch. Wang Dongqing's struggle was like that of an ant. How could he resist the giant's palm? Boom. This claw was like a hot knife through butter. The air vibrated thousands of times, instantly shattering Wang Dongqing's aura shield into dust. A deep crater with a diameter of tens of meters appeared on the ground. The surrounding evolved Jing masters all felt the terror of this attack. Afraid that they would be implicated, they all used their peerless movement techniques to dodge the terrifying aftermath of this attack. Ah! Wang Dongqing screamed. He couldn't resist and was hit by this claw in an instant. His whole body was shaken dozens of times, and his lungs were severely injured. He was caught like a dead dog and fell at Xia Ping's feet, unable to resist. With a puff, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood, which dyed the whole ground red. So strong. Many evolved Jing masters were shocked. They could see that Xia Ping was now at the 4th heaven of Supreme Realm. Facing Wang Dongqing, a strong master at the 5th heaven of Supreme Realm, he should be at a disadvantage. At least his Gang Qi was no match for Wang Dongqing at all. There was a gap of 12 acupoints of Gang Qi. 4 ordinary evolved Jing masters, the gap was huge. But now it was different. Wang Dongqing was at an absolute disadvantage. He was caught by Xia Ping like a chicken. The aura shield on his body exploded in an instant, and he had no way to resist. With just one claw, he had defeated a master at the 5th heaven of Supreme Realm. The strength was simply amazing. Before, they had only heard of Xia Ping's strength on the news. They knew that this young man was extraordinary, but now they really saw the horror of this peerless genius. In terms of using all kinds of Gang Qi, he was not a rookie who had just entered the Supreme Realm, but an old fox who had been immersed in this realm for decades. They couldn't imagine that this was a 19-year-old young man. It was too exaggerated, and his performance was amazing. You dare to shout at me with such little strength? Your cultivation is useless. Xia Ping condescendingly said, I won't talk nonsense with you. Sign a life and death contract with me. Now go to the lie test. Once it is proved that I am not lying, I will kill you on the spot and send your head directly back to the Wang family to warn others. Let's see which trash dares to shout at me again. He just wanted to catch Wang Dongqing and directly sign a life and death contract. No, I won't sign it. Wang Dongqing was so scared that he peed his pants. His face was pale and his whole body was trembling. A large area of his pants was wet. Now he regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. This was a peerless fierce god who dared to kill the descendant of the Demon King and even caught him to auction. Even though he was chased by the 5 Demon Kings, he did not die. Instead, he caused the death of the Hua family's king. His life was simply harder than a stone. Some people said that this guy was simply the bane of others, specializing in killing others, but he himself was alive and kicking. How could a small figure like him contend with such a fierce god? He actually jumped out recklessly. Wasn't he courting death? Now, before he found the truth, he was caught by this fierce god and had to sign a life and death contract. His life was frozen and he would not be able to see the sun tomorrow. Now he also began to believe that this matter was not done by Xia Ping, at least not directly. Otherwise this guy would not dare to be so arrogant and choose to take a lie test with him. Cough, cough. Suddenly a coughing sound rang out. It seemed to contain an unimaginable power. The sound spread out, causing the cultivators present to stop circulating their astral energy. Immediately, an old man wearing a white robe flew through the air and appeared in front of everyone just like that. Many of the cultivators immediately recognized him. This was a king of the giant corporation and also the person in charge of this trip to the relic. His name was Zhao Zhong and he was also an unimaginably important figure. What exactly happened? King Zhao Zhong asked. His eyes contained a divine light, and he had an irresistible aura, like a high mountain. Xia Ping's eyes flashed. Before this, he had seen the Ox Demon King, the Cat Demon King, the Snake Demon King, and the other 5 Demon Kings. Hui Yongming had also seen human kings, but these kings could not be compared to this old man. They were simply not on the same level. Chapter 851. Hearing King Zhao Zhong's question, someone immediately went up and told him what had happened. Mr. Zhao. Seeing King Zhao's arrival, Wang Dongqing acted as though he had seen reinforcements. He immediately complained and shouted, "Hurry up and capture this lawless bastard." He actually dared to start a fight in the headquarters of the giant company. This is simply disregarding the rules of the giant company. He doesn't even place the company's rules in his eyes. If we don't punish this brat harshly in the future, will there still be people who will listen to our giant company? His voice was stern and he demanded the giant company to punish Xia Ping. Shut up. Zhao Zhong coldly spoke. I know who is right and who is wrong in this matter. Do you think you are in the right just because you spoke louder? Who gave you the right to question an evolved master? You have no evidence and yet you dare to casually spread rumors and insult the reputation of an evolved master. You should be considered lucky that we didn't kill you on the spot. You actually dared to complain? Due to your vile behavior today, you don't need to participate in this expedition. Pack up your things and go home. He chased Wang Dongqing out of this place. What? Hearing this, Wang Dongqing's expression drastically changed. To an evolved master, this expedition was simply a huge opportunity. It was equivalent to an ordinary person getting rich overnight. It was something that could only be discovered and not sought. Now, he was actually chased out of this expedition. This was simply killing his path to becoming a king. He was simply crazy. He didn't expect Zhao Zhong to actually dare to do this. Mr. Zhao. Wang Dongqing immediately cursed. You can't do this. I'm a member of the Wang family. My Wang family's ancestor has a relationship with the giant company, and I've also made great contributions to the giant company. How can you do this to me? Just because I offended a bastard, you actually want to chase me out of this expedition? This is too ridiculous. Is your mother's brain flooded with water? If my Wang clan's ancestor heard this news, what would he think? This is unfair to my Wang clan, unfair. He was simply infuriated and didn't care about anything else. Everyone was dumbfounded. Who would have thought that Wang Dongqing would actually dare to say such words? He even scolded King Zhao for having water flooded his brain. His guts were simply boundless. What gave him such courage? Bang. Zhao Zhong didn't waste time talking nonsense with him. He slapped Wang Dongqing with his palm, like a giant crushing an ant. Wang Dongqing fainted on the ground with a single slap. He foamed at the mouth and his eyes turned white. He couldn't speak anymore. It was estimated that he would not be able to wake up for several days. Drag him away. Tell him that Wang Dongqing withdrew from the ruins operation due to physical discomfort. Zhao Zhong stood with his hands behind his back and gave the order. The guards beside him immediately stepped forward and carried Wang Dongqing away. Soon they disappeared from everyone's sight. The evolved Jing masters in the surroundings all shook their heads. To think that he dared to insult a king. Did he not know how to spell the word death? It was already lucky that he had only been knocked unconscious. Some kings were hot-tempered and directly killed Wang Dongqing, guaranteeing that the Wang family wouldn't dare to say anything. Xia Ping quietly watched from the side and didn't say anything. He also knew that it was impossible to kill this idiot in the headquarters of the giant company. After all, there were kings around. Now that he had kicked the other party out of the ruins operation, it was enough to make the other party regret it. He would probably be angry for the next few years, wondering why he had been so stupid to do such a thing. Alright, although there are some disturbances, it doesn't matter much. Zhao Zhong solemnly said, I believe everyone already knows about this. This time, the giant company is planning to open the 88th ruin. The 88th ruin? Xia Ping's eyes flashed. He knew that the number of the ruins represented the order of discovery. This didn't mean that the earlier the ruins were discovered, the better. After all, if they were discovered first, the ruins would have long been explored by others. All the treasures inside would have been taken away, and there wouldn't be any treasures left for the later generations. Hence, the later the ruins were discovered, the better it would be. There would also be more treasures left inside. Although the 88th ruin wasn't the last to be discovered, it wasn't the first either. There should still be many treasures left behind. This news caused many evolved Jing masters to be excited. The 88th ruin is very special. It is different from the other dangerous ruins. It is specially used to select elites. It's similar to an examination. Zhao Zhong continued, however, this examination is extremely dangerous. If one doesn't pass the examination, the evolved Jing masters who entered would die without exception. Of course, after passing the examination there would be many benefits. Depending on the difficulty of the examination, some would obtain treasures, some would obtain unparalleled ultimate arts, and some would obtain precious herbs. In any case, those who passed the examination would obtain great benefits, allowing their strength to improve by leaps and bounds. He explained some of the inside information about the 88th ruin. Mr. Zhao, since that's the case, what exactly is the examination for the 88th ruin? Someone asked. Zhao Zhong shook his head. This ruin requires the examination to be strictly confidential. Hence, those who have participated in the examination are all tight-lipped. Not a single bit of the examination content has been leaked. Hence, when the time comes, you guys can only find out for yourselves. No one else can help you. He indicated that he also didn't know what the examination content was. Everyone was helpless and felt a trace of fear toward the unknown. Although the rewards for entering the ruin were very rich, if one didn't pass they would die. The consequences were very severe. The death rate for the examination this time is very high. It's above 50%. Zhao Zhong looked at everyone. Hence, it's very natural to be afraid. If any of you are unwilling to participate, you can choose to withdraw now. I guarantee that no one will stop you. However, no one flinched and no one chose to withdraw. All the evolved Jing masters present had experienced many life or death situations. What was a 50% death rate? They had all been to places with 90% death rates. How could one obtain treasures without paying a price? Their dad wasn't an invincible king, so it was impossible for him to have prepared so many treasures for them to cultivate. As the saying went, seeking riches amidst danger. Without huge risks, one would want to pursue high returns. How could there be such a good thing in this world? Alright, since no one wants to withdraw, let's set off now. Zhao Zhong didn't hesitate and moved immediately. Take the spaceship to the 88th ruin. When you get there, someone will naturally pick you up. After saying that, he waved his hand and turned to leave. At that moment, a spaceship descended from the sky. The void energy vibrated, immediately sweeping up all the evolved Jing masters on the square, including Xia Ping, and teleporting them to the inside of the spaceship. Whoosh. Chapter 852. The 88th Ruins. This was a huge island located in the depths of the endless sea. The island was extremely large and there were lush trees everywhere, like a primeval forest. There were tyrannical monsters everywhere, and it was filled with the aura of the prehistoric era. However, because of the 88th ruins, this island had long been occupied by the human army. A port and a small city had been built there. Boom. The spaceship carrying Xia Ping and the others quickly arrived on this island, came to a base and landed. Everyone walked out of the spaceship. Hello everyone. The one who came out to greet Xia Ping and the others was a middle-aged man in black with a big knife on his back. He exuded a wild and fierce aura like a black bear. He introduced himself. I am Ling Guoyang, the person in charge of the 88th ruins. Congratulations on coming to the 88th ruins to participate in the trial. We have been preparing for a long time. Now follow me in. Without any nonsense, Ling Guoyang directly asked everyone to follow him in. Whoosh, whoosh. Xia Ping and the others followed behind Ling Guoyang. The surrounding security was tight, and tyrannical masters were everywhere. There seemed to be a king suppressing them. There were guards every 5 steps and there were cameras everywhere. There was also a laser defense system in operation. Once an enemy was found, they would immediately kill them without exception. It could be said that this ruin was strictly monitored. Even a fly would be killed if it wanted to enter. The protection of the ruins was even stricter than that of the president. They walked into the metal base that was entirely made of titanium alloy metal. Along the way, they passed through metal passageways and turned here and there before finally arriving at a hall in the deepest part of the base. This hall was also extremely mysterious, as if it was a computer-controlled base. There were optical computers everywhere and there were huge screens on the walls. Pieces of information that people couldn't understand were constantly flashing across. Many staff members were analyzing and studying here to crack the mysteries of this base. After all, the technology of this base was beyond this era, containing unimaginable science and technology. Even if they couldn't crack the defense system of the entire ruin base, they would always obtain a lot of useful technology if they studied it carefully. In fact, the human technology of Yanhuang planet continued to develop in this way, studying the technology of each ruin base, digesting and even innovating. They're here. Finally, someone is here. Welcome, Grandmasters, to the 88th ruins base. There's no need to welcome them. Not long after, only half of the Grandmasters here will survive. If we welcome them now, we'll be sending them off tomorrow. Shut up. No one will think you're a mute if you don't speak. Even if that's the case, you can't spout nonsense. Sorry, I was just joking to lighten the mood. Liven up my ass. How can we liven up the atmosphere when there's already a dead person? Pay attention. In the hall, there were also many staff members. When they saw Xia Ping and the others appear, they all started talking at once, looking at Xia Ping and the others like pandas. Many of the grandmasters were speechless. This group of staff members was too vicious. Although some of them were defending them, they seemed to think that more than half of them were dead, so they did not know what to say. I'm sorry, these bastards haven't seen strangers in a long time, so their mouths are a little big, but they definitely don't have any ill intentions towards you. Ling Guoyang looked at Xia Ping and the others and smiled. But the truth is that the trial in this ruins base is indeed very dangerous. The death rate is more than 50%, and the weak ones are more than 90%. Over the decades, I've seen countless grandmasters succeed, and I've also seen many grandmasters with boundless futures die. So whether you want to go in or not, it's up to you. His expression was very calm as he stated this fact. However, none of the grandmasters present said anything. Their eyes were extremely resolute. Since they were already here, it was not their turn to back, so they did not choose to back out. Alright, if that's the case, let's open the ruins. After a few claps, Ling Guoyang clapped his hands. Immediately, a few staff members beside him started typing on the optical computer. Dong. Immediately, the metal wall opposite them split open, revealing a circular passage. However, this passage was covered by a white light screen. There were gentle energy fluctuations and no one could see what was inside the passage. This is the passage to the 88th ruins. Ling Guoyang pointed at the circular passage. Once you enter, it means that the trial has begun. If you don't succeed, you'll die inside and your body won't be sent out. If you succeed, you'll probably come back within a month. We call this door the Gate of Hell. Once you enter, your life and death are uncertain. I can only wish you good luck. Many of the grandmasters fell silent. Even though they were mentally prepared, they still felt great pressure when it came to the end. Was this the ruins trial where one's life and death were uncertain? There was great terror between life and death. Not to mention grandmasters, even kings would not be able to understand it. I'll go in first. Xia Ping was the first to speak. After that, he ignored the others and stepped into the entrance of the ruins first. As expected of young people, brave and fearless. I'm still getting old. When things come to the end, I'm actually a little afraid. There is great terror between life and death. Perhaps I can use this terror to break through to the king realm. I wish you all good luck. I'm going in as well. After I succeed, let's all drink together. Seeing that Xia Ping, the youngest grandmaster, had also entered, many of the grandmasters seemed to be relieved. They finally let go of the pressure in their hearts and walked in one by one without hesitation. In just a few minutes, all the grandmasters had stepped into the ruins passage. With a snap, the passage closed and the golden wall closed again. The moment Xia Ping stepped into the ruins passage, he immediately felt that he was surrounded by a mass of energy. In an instant he was transported to a huge square. The square was extremely large, like a fighting arena. There was nothing around it. What is this place? Xia Ping narrowed his eyes and looked around, vigilant of the dangers around him. It was the same for the other grandmasters. One by one they were transported to a huge space and were all separated. Dong. Immediately, a huge white beam of light descended from the void and hit Xia Ping's body. However, it did not have any offensive power. It was like sunlight making people feel warm. Chapter 853. Xia Ping stood quietly in place and did not move. He knew that this might be a test procedure of the relic trial, and he did not know what the consequences would be if he acted rashly, so he did not move. The challenger is at the 4th level of the Supreme Power Realm, 19 years old, and the race is human. Begin to test physical fitness. Strength level, SSS, nerve reaction speed level, SSS speed level, SSS soul level, SSS, immaculate body, perfect constitution. Body bloodline. Beep beep beep, unmeasurable, unmeasurable, beyond the detection range of the system. The system has determined that he meets the highest level of the trial. Start immediately. Immediately, the quiet space was filled with beeping alarms at this moment. The moment Xia Ping's physical condition was detected, it seemed that even the mechanical voice now had a trace of human emotion, as if it was very shocked by Xia Ping's physical condition, which made the other party a little stunned. The highest level of the trial? What the hell is this? Xia Ping blinked his eyes. He did not expect that this would happen just by testing his body. The bodies of other Supreme Power Masters were also tested by the system, but there was no change in the voice, as if it was routine and would start immediately after the test. Rumble. At this moment, the whole space returned to normal. Drops of black liquid fell from the void and fell to the ground. Immediately, these black liquids quickly condensed together, merged into one, and then turned into a human figure. Liquid robot. Xia Ping's pupils shrank. He had once seen on a forum that there were powerful puppet guards in the relic space, all of which were liquid robots. They were condensed by a special liquid, which could be divided and dispersed, and were extremely hard. These guards could not be killed by ordinary means. Only by destroying their core would they die. Moreover, these liquid robots were proficient in martial arts, no less than any martial arts supreme power master. Even because they had no emotions, their moves were even more terrifying. Every move was made according to the most accurate and efficient way, and would never waste any drop of strength. It was like a computer control, achieving a state of extreme simplicity. At this moment there were 18 such liquid robots. They were dressed in black armor and held 3-foot-long swords in their hands. Their bodies exuded a strong sword intent, as if they had pierced the sky, which was extremely terrifying. Whoosh, whoosh. These liquid robots did not speak to Xia Ping at all. In an instant they attacked and slashed with their swords. Suddenly, a terrifying sword chi was slashed out, condensed enough to pierce through everything. Moreover, its speed was unbelievably fast, reaching 5 times the speed of sound. At this speed, it would reach him in the blink of an eye. An ordinary grandmaster would not even be able to react in time and would most likely be beheaded. Die. Xia Ping flipped his hand and ran the Dark North body protecting skill. His hand was wrapped in a strong aura, and he hit the sword chi with his bare hands. Dong. Immediately, this kind of sword chi was instantly smashed into pieces. The air shook thousands of times, and the tyrannical palm force bombarded one of the liquid robots. However, the liquid robot merely took a few steps back and remained unscathed. Immovable Buddha palm. Xia Ping was expressionless. Golden light erupted from his body, as if a Buddha had descended. Buddhist light illuminated everything as he struck out with his palm, containing the aura of an unmovable Buddha. With a bang, the liquid robot in front of him was instantly sent flying before crashing heavily into the ground, creating a massive human-shaped crater with cracks all around it. Not dead yet. Xia Ping's pupils shrank because he saw the liquid robot falling to the ground. Its whole body was flattened by a huge palm force and turned into a huge piece of metal paper, but its whole body was composed of liquid, as if it was metal with memory. In just a moment, it actually returned to its original state as if nothing had happened. It's really like what the internet says, if the core of the liquid robot is not found, it can't be destroyed at all and can't be killed? Xia Ping also felt a headache for this kind of robot. As expected of the guardian of the ruins, just this unkillable existence alone has probably killed countless enemies who wanted to invade. After all, cutting off an arm, a leg, or even the head of the other party is useless. They are liquid robots and can be reborn at any time and anywhere. As long as the core is not destroyed, they are immortal. At the same time, the other 17 swordsman liquid robots also attacked. They joined forces at the same time and seemed to set up a huge sword formation. Sword chi attacked, and the sword light vibrated like a meat grinder. If you are in it, you will be torn into pieces by these terrifying sword lights. Dark North body protection art. Xia Ping's eyes revealed a cold light, his hands turned into a circle, the qigong in his body vibrated, and a huge Kunpeng appeared behind him, opening his mouth and sucking. At this moment his body seemed to turn into a huge black hole, swallowing and nibbling, forming a terrible vortex of air, swallowing everything. With a loud sound, these terrifying sword chi were swallowed by Kunpeng in an instant and turned into nothingness. The power of Dark North body protection art is evident. At the same time his body also seemed to have thousands of shocks, like the thunder of tigers and leopards, training the bone marrow, absorbing this energy as his own, and strengthening his body's astral chi. It was as if this was a perfect tonic for him. Such a thing seems to shock this group of swordsman liquid robots. The computing system doesn't seem to expect this to happen. Their powerful sword chi was swallowed in one bite, and the enemy was unscathed. It's too exaggerated. Since I can only kill this group of liquid robots by finding the core, then I will completely destroy your body and see if you die or not. Xia Ping's eyes showed a cold light. Heavenly Dragon 8 sounds. Oh, go, ba, ma. One by one syllables burst out. After being promoted to the Supreme Power Realm, this sound wave unique art is even more terrifying. A trace of roar like a real dragon roar has a trace of embryonic form. In mid-air, the air vibrated and condensed into a substance, like a tidal wave, with Xia Ping's body as the center, sweeping in all directions. Bang bang bang. Immediately, the swordsman liquid robots were caught off guard. Their bodies were shocked by such sound waves hundreds of times, and their internal structure was destroyed crazily. With a snap, a burst of crisp sound rang out. Their inner core, a silver sphere, seemed to be unable to withstand such a sound wave attack. It shattered on the spot like glass being smashed into pieces. Immediately, these liquid robots fell to the ground and turned into a mass of black liquid. Are they finally all dead? Seeing these liquid robots disappear, Xiaoping also breathed a sigh of relief. But before Xiaoping could rest, the space shook and 18 silver liquid robots appeared on the ground again. They were all holding long spears in their hands like knights and rushed over. Again? Chapter 854. Shishu. The silver liquid robots wielded spears and stabbed over. The spears were like a forest of sharp edges, sealing off all of Xiaoping's movements. It was like a forest of thorns. Once pierced, one would bleed profusely. In fact, one's entire body would be riddled with holes. Not even the gods would be able to save him. Amazing. Xiaoping could sense that these silver liquid robots were extremely strong as well. Each of them was like a grandmaster of the spear, as though they had been immersed in the art of the spear for decades. If it was just a single silver liquid robot, it might have been a little stiff and would have a momentary opening. However, with 18 of them working together, they formed a spear formation that complemented each other. This was practically invincible. This wasn't as simple as 1 plus 1. The power was multiplied by several folds. Hell-suppressing spear. In an instant he also took out his weapon. Fighting against these spear-wielding robots with bare hands was really too disadvantageous for him, and he was restrained in every aspect. A terrifying hellish aura emanated from Xiaoping's body. It was as though the gates of hell had opened and an Asura had walked out. The surrounding air seemed to have turned blood red. Dong. With a stab of the spear, layers of spear shadows appeared in the air. It was as though the spear could pierce through the void. The tip of the spear possessed an unimaginable sharpness that seemed indestructible. The spear shadows even stirred the air, forming a terrifying vortex. The vortex turned into ropes that bound the silver liquid robots. Even if they wanted to dodge, it was impossible. Kill? Xiaoping bellowed. His killing intent surged as he turned into a hellish jailer. With a stab of the spear, the heavens and earth shook as it pierced through the body of a silver liquid robot. Bang! The hell-suppressing spear trembled and erupted with a terrifying hellish aura. It was as violent as a primordial divine elephant, instantly blowing up the entire liquid robot. Even the core of the robot could not withstand such a terrifying explosion and shattered into pieces. The liquid robot also turned into a puddle of silver liquid that quickly melted into the ground and disappeared. Xiaoping was not going to let them off easily. After piercing through a silver liquid robot with a single stab of his spear, he struck out repeatedly. His spear was like a dragon, piercing through 17 spear shadows in an instant. Pa pa pa. Time seemed to have stopped at that moment. The remaining 17 liquid robots were unable to move. Their computing abilities did not seem to have calculated that this would happen. By the time they reacted, the energy of the hell spear instantly exploded in their bodies. It was as if a human bomb had been ambushed, and they instantly exploded into pieces. Immediately, a huge pit appeared on the ground and a large amount of silver liquid flowed into it, forming a small lake. Anything else? Xiaoping hovered in place, the hell spear in his hand, radiating a wild aura. He looked like an Asura from the depths of hell, an invincible god of war. After the liquid robot with the long spear disappeared, it seemed that the trial space did not give Xiaoping any time to respond. In an instant, 18 robots with large blades appeared. Such attacks came wave after wave. Some of the robots held huge axes in their hands. They were extremely powerful, and when they swung down they had the power to split the earth. Some of the robots were proficient in assassination. They turned into shadows and constantly searched for Xiaoping's flaws, wanting to deal a fatal blow. Some of the robots held energy guns and bombarded from a distance, chasing Xiaoping around. Once caught by these robots, they would be shot in the head and killed. And this kind of attack came a total of 18 times. Different robots attacked with different weapons, wave after wave like the waves of the sea, never stopping. Xiaoping also ran the pure yang immortal secret art. Like a rock in the sea, no matter how these robots attacked, he remained motionless and responded to the changes. Boom. I don't know how long it took. Xiaoping punched out and smashed a robot with a scythe and destroyed all the rest of the robots. The whole ground was scarred, and there were shocking traces everywhere, as if it had been baptized by hundreds of missiles. Who? Xia Ping took a deep breath and there was some dense sweat on his forehead. Even if his physical strength was off the charts, facing so many attacks, he couldn't help but be a little breathless. It is estimated that if he didn't have the Dark North body protection technique, he could absorb the power of these enemies and take it for himself to enhance his own strength, and his long-term combat ability was extremely strong. If it was another Grandmaster, he would definitely die. However, such an intense battle also had great benefits for Xia Ping. He felt the aura energy in his body surging, refining the medicinal power stored in his body. It seemed that he was about to break through an acupoint and strengthen the aura energy in his body. Ding dong, when the last robot died, a mechanical voice rang out in the air. Congratulations, trial taker. You have passed the first round of the death trial. You have an hour to rest. Next will be the second round of the death trial. Once passed, the challenger has the opportunity to obtain the inheritance of this star sect. There is a second round of the death trial? Originally, when he heard this mechanical voice, Xia Ping thought that the trial was finally over, but who would have thought that this was just the beginning? There was still a second round. Just the first round of the trial was so terrifying. How terrifying would the second round be? However, what did this myriad star sect mean? Could it be that it was the true master of this ruins? Why have I never heard of such a name before? Xia Ping's eyes flickered. He felt that as his trial progressed, he seemed to be more and more clear about the true face of this base. Perhaps there is a huge secret hidden here. Half an hour passed in a flash. Time's up, the second round of the trial begins. Suddenly, Xia Ping heard this mechanical voice. Boom! Regardless of whether Xia Ping agreed or not, a mass of energy instantly wrapped his body, and in the next second he was teleported to another space. What is this place? Xia Ping stood on the ground and found himself in a place where the walls were crystal, and the crystal walls were engraved with many complex and mysterious patterns, as well as complex characters that he had never seen before. His eyes looked at this mysterious pattern, and he felt dizzy, and suddenly found that his spirit seemed to be pulled into a mysterious martial arts world by these patterns. A figure of light was displaying a peerless supreme art. Each of its moves contained a terrifying might. Chapter 855. The mission has begun? Xia Ping looked confused. Although the mission had begun, what exactly was this trial mission? Before Xia Ping could ask, the mechanical voice sounded again. There are pictures and words engraved on the wall. It is a basic technique of the Myriad Stars sect, star guiding art. Once you successfully cultivate it, you can draw the power of the stars in the sky. If you cultivate it to a high level, you can make the stars dance with you in one breath, condense into the myriad star body, and become the son of the stars. If you learn this technique within a year, you can leave this base. However, if you fail the assessment, you will die. Of course, during this year of learning, the base will provide you with water and food to ensure your basic needs. Xia Ping looked at the wall and carefully observed it again. There were many human body patterns on it. There were thousands of them, and each picture was accompanied by a large number of ancient explanations, which were not any of the words he was familiar with. It could be said that this basic technique was extremely complicated. Ordinary people would feel that their heads would explode when they saw this information, just like a primary school student trying to solve calculus. Why does it take a year? Can't I learn it in a day? Xia Ping blinked his eyes, indicating that he found the time requirement very strange. The voice suddenly became a little speechless. This native was really whimsical. He wanted to learn the star guiding art in a day. Why didn't he go to heaven? Did he think that this was some kind of technique? However, it still explained, the star guiding art is an extremely complicated technique. Even if a genius wants to learn it successfully without guidance, they may not be able to get started in 3 years. Not to mention ordinary people, even with guidance from a teacher, they will never be able to get started in this life. Learning it in a year is also a very demanding requirement. Unless you are a monster, it will be difficult to pass this trial. It indicated that the difficulty of this technique was extraordinary. Indeed, this was not a lie. Just the thousands of diagrams and the explanations of the ancient words were enough to prove the complexity of this technique. Ordinary people would feel that their heads were going to explode when they saw the information above. But on one hand, this also meant that this cultivation method was extraordinarily powerful. System, help me scan it. How much hatred points do I need to spend to learn this technique? Xia Ping's eyes flickered, and he immediately issued an order to the super hatred system. If it was according to the ordinary method, it would naturally be difficult to quickly learn this extremely complicated technique, but with the help of the system it would be different. It could be learned in an instant without wasting much time. Ding dong. After a while, the system immediately said, "The test is successful. This technique, star guiding art, is not available in the system. This technique is extremely precious and priceless. The host needs to spend 200 million hatred points to learn it." What? Xiaoping was shocked. He knew that in the cloud realm, peerless king-level cultivation technique was basically the best. However, there was a cultivation technique that was even more powerful than king-level cultivation techniques in the world, and that was the sacred level. There, he could become a saint. Once learned, he could become a saint. If it appeared in the cloud realm, it would immediately cause a bloodbath. Many monster kings would fight over it crazily. They would not hesitate to start a war. It's actually a saint-tier cultivation technique. I'm going to be rich. Xiaoping didn't expect that he would be qualified to learn a saint-level technique just by entering the ruins once. It was incredible. It had been hundreds of years since the 88th ruins was excavated, but no one had ever been able to get a saint-level technique from it. However, it was estimated that in order to activate this assessment, one also needed to meet the qualification requirements. None of the humans who came to the 88th ruins before could meet the requirements, so naturally they couldn't trigger it. It wasn't until Xiaoping's turn that he finally opened the final inheritance of the ruins. System, immediately spend 200 million hatred points to learn this star guiding art. Xiaoping immediately said. Since this was a saint-level technique, it would naturally be beneficial to him after learning it. Moreover, if he wanted to leave the ruins, he must learn this technique. Although it would cost 200 million hatred points, it was nothing at all. Anyway, the hatred points could be earned again. But if the saint-level technique was gone, it was really gone. If a technique of this level was exchanged in the system, he didn't know how much it would be worth. Exchange successful. The system's voice came out, and in the next second, a majestic stream of information poured into Xiaoping's mind. Boom! At this moment, Xiaoping's soul seemed to appear in a boundless universe, and he saw a huge figure sitting cross-legged in the void of the universe. The other party was meditating cross-legged, his body transparent, and there was a Qigong circulation route map. It was like a huge picture of stars, with countless planets appearing in it. As this figure breathed, the power of countless stars in the void was absorbed and entered his 108,000 pores, constantly strengthening the power of his body. It was as if at this moment, this figure had incarnated into a huge star, the Lord of the Stars, and the power of the stars in the sky was for his use. It's too powerful. Xiaoping felt his soul trembling. Compared to this figure, the unparalleled ferocious beast, the soul-devouring beast, was nothing. This seemed to be a powerhouse standing at the top of the universe, reaching the Saint Realm. This was the realm where he could grab the stars and the moon. His magical power was boundless and almost omnipotent. Star guiding art. Feeling the greatness of this illusory figure, Xiaoping immediately immersed himself in the cultivation of the star guiding art. Star pictures appeared in his mind, digesting and absorbing them for his own use. With the help of the system, he comprehended this peerless technique at the speed of light. After the mechanical voice finished saying these words, it seemed to want to continue, as if it had not spoken for so long in a long time. It still wanted to criticize Xiaoping for not biting off more than he could chew, and for being down to earth. Being able to learn the star guiding art in a year, even if one was a genius among geniuses, wanting to learn the star guiding art in a day was simply a dream. It was like wanting to learn how to fly without even knowing how to walk. Did he really think he was a bird? However, before it could say these words, it immediately saw Xiaoping suddenly sitting cross-legged on the ground, breathing rhythmically, and an inexplicable rhythm appeared in the air. 108,000 pores seemed to have opened at this moment, like a kunpeng swallowing and nibbling away. In the sky, the power of the stars seemed to be pulled by gravity, falling like a meteor. Beams of azure light fell, landing on Xiaoping's body. Chapter 856. Fuck, he learned it just like that? Seeing this situation, the voice could not help but curse. Even though it had seen many peerless geniuses and peerless monsters, it had never seen someone like this. The star guide art was an upper saint level cultivation method. It was extremely complicated. Even a monster would not be able to learn it even after a few years without guidance. However, this kid was simply heaven-defying. He just casually looked at it and actually learned it in an instant. He even began to meditate, guiding the power of the stars in the sky and integrating it into his body. Although he had just learned it, the difference was like heaven and earth. Those who had learned it and those who had not were two completely different things. It was like the difference between a human and a gorilla. This kid is a monster. The voice was speechless and did not know what to say. It had prepared a year for this kid to cultivate and a lot of food and water. Now all these preparations were completely useless. Fortunately, it did not shamelessly say those words to teach this kid not to bite off more than he could chew. Otherwise it would be the one feeling extremely embarrassed. Rumble, at this moment, Xiaoping was meditating cross-legged and operating the star guide art. He closed his eyes and felt that his body was warm as if he was soaking in a hot spring. In the void, strands of power of the stars integrated into his body, entering every acupoint and every meridian, nourishing every cell in his body and constantly strengthening. Different from the essence of the sun, this power of the stars was extremely gentle and belonged to the yin attribute. It had the effect of nourishing life and was extremely beneficial to life. Bang! After an unknown amount of time, his body suddenly trembled and a majestic power of the stars surged in. In an instant, 2 acupoints were opened, greatly increasing the earth energy in his body. Vaguely, in these acupoints, the power of the stars gathered, as if transforming into stars living in the acupoints. They slowly rotated, emitting the power of the stars and resonating with his body. Xiaoping's body emitted a blue light, as if he was surrounded by endless starlight and bathed in the light of the Milky Way. It was incomparably sacred like the sun of the stars. So powerful. When this cultivation art was completed, Xiaoping opened his eyes, full of energy. His eyes seemed to contain the revolving power of the stars, terrifying to the extreme, with the power to injure the soul. He could feel that after cultivating the star guiding art, his body was slowly being transformed by the power of the stars. It was as if he had transformed into a body of stars, and his skin was as tough as cowhide. In fact, this technique was very compatible with the pure yang immortal art. Yin and yang fused together and complemented each other. At the same time, an enormous image appeared in his sea of energy, within which was an enormous sun that burned with boundless heat that illuminated the universe. Beside the sun, a silver moon appeared. Moonlight filled the sky, producing a silver radiance. It was incomparably gentle, as if it was neutralizing the violent energy of the sun. Motes of starlight appeared around the 2 stars, as if the sea of qi in his Dantian region had transformed into a boundless universe, incomparably profound and unfathomable. Oh! Xiaoping took a deep breath, and the power of the stars flowed along with his breathing, inhaling and exhaling. The power of the stars that permeated the entire room was immediately devoured by his 108,000 pores, assimilating it into every cell in his body. After that, he opened his eyes and discovered that he was still in the crystal room. He then glanced at his communicator and discovered that 3 days and 3 nights had passed. He completely didn't expect that he would be so immersed in his cultivation that he didn't even know how much time had passed. Moreover, Xiaoping didn't feel hungry at all. It was as if he had absorbed a large amount of power of the stars and was saturated with energy, making up for the lack of energy in his body. Hence he didn't need to eat or eat at all. It seemed like the legends of ancient cultivators who could enter a state of fasting during seclusion and didn't need to eat anything at all might be true. May I ask if this counts as a success? Xiaoping opened his eyes and looked into the air. He knew that his cultivation was definitely being watched by an unknown existence. Did he succeed? The voice was speechless at this moment. It had been observing Xiaoping's situation for the past 3 days, but the more it observed, the more shocked it felt. This native was really too terrifying. It was obviously the first time he cultivated the star guiding art, and it was very difficult to guide the power of the stars in the sky. Normally, it would have ended in 2 hours and he wouldn't have been able to cultivate for too long. However, this kid actually cultivated for 3 days and 3 nights. The power of the stars seemed to be freely falling from the void and crazily assimilating into his body. Even among the many genius disciples of the star sect, it had seen countless geniuses in the universe, but it had never seen such a freak. It was too abnormal. Was he even human? It could only be said that this kid was really too suitable to cultivate the star guiding art. It seemed that his physique had a strong compatibility with the power of the stars. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was a natural child of the stars. In fact, this was also very normal. Xiaoping had the bloodline of the Golden Crow of Hell. The Golden Crow was an existence known as the sun in the universe. It was the origin of countless lives and the lord of many stars. Even though the bloodline in his body hadn't been completely unsealed, and he had only fused with a little bit of it, it was enough to make his affinity with the power of the stars reach an off-the-charts level. How could ordinary humans compare to this kind of natural variant? They weren't even on the same level. Congratulations to the challenger. You have successfully passed the second round of the death trials. Please follow the passage in front of you until the end to receive your reward. The voice suppressed the shock in its heart and acted as if nothing had happened. It seemed as if it was doing official business without any emotions. Bang. As soon as the voice finished speaking, one of the walls of the originally incomparably sturdy crystal room immediately split open, revealing a huge tunnel. This tunnel was very long. It seemed to be 5 or 6 kilometers long. It was pitch black without any light. It was unknown what was at the end of the tunnel. It was mysterious and unpredictable. Go. Xiaoping didn't hesitate and immediately used the Kunpeng steps. His whole body glided over and quickly passed through the tunnel. He couldn't wait to receive the reward of this relic. Soon he left the tunnel and arrived at the end. Suddenly it became clear. At the end of the tunnel was a huge and mysterious palace. There seemed to be a boundless starry world above his head. Strands of the power of the stars fell down. It was magnificent. It was as if he was in the universe. No one. Xiaoping looked around. It was very quiet. There didn't seem to be a shadow of anyone. Boom. Chapter 857. Huh. Xiaoping's body trembled because he saw that the figure was condensed from light energy. What appeared in front of him was a person with a human body but a cat's face. It held a walking stick in its hand and had a white beard. It wore a white robe and had a sage-like demeanor. Hello, I am the AI of this base. You can call me Corinne. Corinne smiled slightly and looked at Xiaoping in front of him with a peaceful face. AI. Xiaoping knew that the AI was only a computer that operated at the speed of light. Although its computing power was extremely powerful and it could simulate many complex times, it was still an ordinary machine. A computer that was more powerful than the AI was undoubtedly the AI. It was a super machine with wisdom and emotions. It could be said that such a machine was basically separated from the concept of machinery and was more similar to a metal life. The gap between these two technologies is like the difference between the primitive society and the nuclear age. Even the current Yanhuang star can't figure out how intelligence was born. They can't figure it out even if they break their heads. Only the relics had such powerful technology which was beyond imagination. But soon Xiaoping also found something strange. He looked at Corinne and asked, "Do you know the language of Yanhuang's star?" Normally, every place has its own local language and the languages of the major places in the sky realm are also different. If it were not for the emergence of translation software, it would be very difficult to communicate. This is just a small matter. Corinne faintly smiled. This base has observed the entire cloud realm for tens of thousands of years. From primitive, to development, to prosperity, to decline, and then to slow recovery. I know this place's history, geographical environment, customs, and customs like the back of my hand. Moreover, some indigenous languages can be analyzed in an instant by the AI. The computing speed of the AI is not what ordinary people can imagine. It can simulate more than 1 trillion times in an instant. Observed for tens of thousands of years. Xiaoping heard the information inadvertently revealed by Corinne. He did not expect that this relic was not dead but still alive. It silently observed the whole world and no one could find it, which was frightening. With the other party's super technology, if they wanted to harm the human beings of this world, they would probably face a disaster. Don't be afraid. Corinne seemed to have seen through Xiaoping's thoughts and said, "You haven't lived in the universe so you don't know how vast and boundless the real universe is. It is a space that life can never explore in a lifetime. This so-called cloud realm is just a piece of land in the universe that is as numerous as the hairs on a cow. Moreover, the resources are so poor that I'm not interested in it at all." It was like a rich man who was used to living in a bustling city came to a remote village. He wouldn't have any special thoughts about this place. The cloud world is a piece of land in the universe? Xiaoping blinked his eyes. He thought that the universe was basically made up of planets. He didn't expect there to be land. What's so strange about the universe having land? Corinne sneered, "The universe is so big and magical, how can ordinary people imagine it? Not only are there naturally formed continents in the universe, where the sky is round and the earth is square, and the atmosphere is like an eggshell. There are also many mysterious secret realms that are vast and boundless. They form their own space and are suppressed by the rules. Even with advanced technology, it is difficult to enter them. In addition, there are even artificial continents and artificial planets with a diameter of more than 10,000 light-years. Compared to them, the cloud world and Yanhuang planet are just a speck of dust." It felt that Xiaoping was making a fuss. He was really a native. Land of more than 10,000 light years? Xiaoping was speechless. No wonder Corinne looked down on the cloud world. He was used to seeing big fish and meat. How could he be interested in these small grains? The gap between the two sides was too big. This was the difference in their horizons. It was like the poor always worried that the emperor would come and steal the 3 caddies of rice in the rice jar at home. It was really ridiculous. How did Yanhuang planet and the cloud world connect together? Xiaoping was very curious about this. He felt that this was probably one of the biggest secrets of Yanhuang planet. It was precisely because of the connection of wormholes that Yanhuang planet had undergone earth-shaking changes. By chance. Corinne said in a deep voice, there are many coincidences in the universe such as space storms, various magnetic disasters and so on. No one can predict when they will appear. The appearance of a wormhole between Yanhuang planet and the cloud world, connecting the two areas separated by who knows how many light years, is just a coincidence in the universe. In fact, this kind of thing is also countless. For example, several planets have space tunnels that can be entered and exited at will. This is a miracle of the universe and cannot be explained. It meant that this was just a coincidence. Was it a coincidence? After thinking about it, Xiaoping no longer paid attention to this kind of thing. It was like a person suddenly winning a $5 million lottery. Did he have to think about why the other party won the lottery? It was just a coincidence. He looked at Corinne and asked, I passed this assessment trial. May I ask what the reward is? Is there a spaceship that can cross the universe and a superweapon that can destroy the world? Xiaoping was very excited. If he got such a weapon, wouldn't he be able to walk unhindered in the cloud world? This was simply a modern society crushing a primitive society. Even invincible kings had to die. The corner of Corinne's mouth twitched. This native was really impolite. When others saw such a huge gap, they would have long been in awe of it. This native, on the other hand, directly asked him for a reward. He was extremely thick-skinned and didn't seem to treat him as an outsider. Of course there is such a weapon. This is nothing at all. My starry sect is a mysterious and powerful force in the universe. We have a weapon called the Star Destroyer Cannon. One shot can destroy the entire cloud world and a planet. Corinne stood with his hands behind his back and said proudly. He seemed to want to enjoy Xiaoping's worshipping gaze. Such a weapon would definitely scare this native to death and make him worship him. Star Destroyer Cannon? As soon as Xiaoping heard this name, his eyes lit up because this weapon sounded very powerful. It gave him a feeling of invincibility and could walk unhindered like a crab. Where is this Star Destroyer Cannon? Xiaoping asked immediately. Well, because of various reasons it was destroyed. Corinne's eyes flickered. It seemed that there was something difficult to say. Destroyed. Chapter 858. What exterminated? Does this native know how to speak? Corinne was so angry that his beard curled up. He felt that this native didn't know how to speak, directly poking at his sore spot. Corinne's face was very dark. However, it also admitted, you're right, the All-Star sect is indeed in big trouble. People don't have good days, flowers don't have red days. No matter how powerful a force is, it will eventually decline. My master, the Star Sect Master, offended an unimaginable great figure. As a result, he was hunted down and affected countless galaxies. One after another, planets were destroyed and almost the entire sect was exterminated. In the end, only by carrying the secret base of the Star Sect to this desolate place did he escape the final calamity and not be completely exterminated. Xiaoping asked curiously, an unimaginable great figure? How strong was he? Sage. Corinne said in a deep voice, the other party was a tyrannical sage. Although my master, the Star Sect Master, was also a sage, the strong have their own experts. The other party was undoubtedly more powerful, and his means reached the heavens. In the end, my master couldn't resist and was beheaded. Xiaoping blinked his eyes, indicating that he didn't understand such a realm division. That's right. Corinne nodded. According to your strength, it's normal that you don't understand. Your so-called martial disciple, martial artist, martial master, and grandmaster realms are just babies in the universe. And the king realm is actually called the mortal realm in the universe. Mortal realm? Xiaoping was speechless. He had cultivated for so long and conscientiously, but he still hadn't reached the mortal realm. He was just a baby. The gap was too big. The mortal realm is also divided into 9 realms. Corinne continued, they are Purple Mansion Realm, Fulfillment Realm, Divine Power Realm, Treasure Refining Realm, True Fire Realm, Golden Core Realm, Returning Nature Realm, Law Phase Realm, and finally Thunder Retribution Realm. Each realm is divided into early, middle, and late stages. In the Cloud Realm, most of the kings are actually only at Purple Mansion Realm. A small number of kings have advanced to Fulfillment Realm. Those so-called invincible kings are actually only at the Divine Power Realm. What? Xiaoping was shocked. He didn't expect the King Realm to be divided into 9 realms, and the gap between each realm was so huge. The so-called invincible kings were only at the Divine Power Realm. Do you know what Purple Mansion Realm is? Corinne glanced at Xiaoping. Xiaoping shook his head, indicating that he didn't know the divisions of the King Realm. Such information was classified as top secret, and it seemed that it wouldn't be leaked unless one reached a certain level. To reach Purple Mansion, one must to Purple Mansion. This is the key to the King Realm. Cat Once Person said in a low voice. Once the Violet Palace is opened, the body's spiritual energy and stellar energy will completely fuse, activating the brain region, and fusing with an even higher level of energy, magic power. Some mighty martial artists can grab the stars and the moon, travel through the void, and are almost omnipotent. This is because of the existence of magical power in their bodies. It is a high-level energy in the universe. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He understood the huge gap between the King Realm and the Master Realm. It was because of the existence of King Realm and Master Realm. This energy was so powerful that it transcended everything. Once it enveloped the body, even a nuclear bomb wouldn't be able to penetrate the King Realm's defense. Even thousands of masters couldn't break the defense. If they couldn't even break the defense, how could they contend against the King Realm? So when a Master Realm faced a King Realm, it was basically a one-sided massacre. But Purple Mansion Realm is just a rookie in the universe. They are like servants. There are countless of them. They are usually used as cannon fodder in war. Corinne said lightly. Cannon fodder? The corner of Xiaoping's mouth twitched. In the Cloud Realm, the King Realm was so respected. But in the universe they were just cannon fodder? After reaching the Fulfillment Realm, their status is slightly higher. They are considered mid-level cannon fodder. Corinne said, mortals who have reached the Fulfillment Realm have reached the acme of perfection in their control of King Realm. They can attach King Realm to their weapons. The attack power is more than 10 times stronger. And the Divinity Realm is even more terrifying. Mortals of this level have already cultivated martial arts mystiques, and their strength has increased by more than 100 times. The difference between mortals who have cultivated martial arts mystiques and those who haven't is like heaven and earth. It's the difference between the mud in the ground and the dragons in the sky. A person who condenses martial Dao divine powers can almost sweep away a group of kings under the divine powers realm. They can't be defeated. Such a person can barely be considered as high-level cannon fodder in the universe. Xiaoping was speechless. In the Cloud Realm, the existence known as the Invincible King Realm. No one dared to provoke them. But in this guy's mouth they were just high-level cannon fodder. If they reach the Artifact Refining Realm, then their status will increase geometrically. Corinne said in a low voice, because at this realm they can already refine artifacts. The artifacts you have are basically refined by experts of this level. Such people are considered to have some status in the universe. They are at a moderate level. After all, they can refine artifacts, so they are qualified to sell treasures and carry out primitive accumulation. Refine artifacts. Xiaoping knew how powerful artifacts were. Looking at the entire Cloud Realm, no one could refine one. Even with the current level of technology, there was no way to replicate it because it was not a scientific system. However, such a magical and powerful artifact could be refined after reaching the Artifact Refining Realm. He couldn't imagine how strong people of this level were. Try to imagine, after reaching the Artifact Refining Realm, they could refine artifacts at will. If every king in the Cloud Realm had one, they could probably easily destroy the Thousand Demon Mountain. Such an expert could change the situation in an instant. He was a big boss who could affect the entire Cloud Realm. Once you reach the true Fire Realm, you are qualified to become a tycoon. You can be rich and influence the economy of a planet. Corinne continued, once you reach the Golden Core Realm, you can become the master of a planet. You can buy and sell planets in the universe at will. You can become the master of a planet and control billions of subordinates. As for the Returning Nature Realm, you can become an elder of a large sect in the Transcendence Realm. You can control dozens or hundreds of planets. You can be considered a big boss. No one will look down on you anywhere in the universe. As for the Thunder Retribution Realm, there is no need to talk about it. People of this level are just one step away from transcending mortality and becoming a true sage. Their strength is tyrannical and unfathomable. Can be said that this is the strongest person below the sage. They are important in any force. Chapter 859. Xiaoping's thoughts surged when he heard these words. Even though he knew that the path of the martial Tao was extremely arduous, he'd never imagined that the King realm was merely the beginning. There were still 9 more realms: the Violet Palace realm, the Fulfillment realm, the Divine Refinement realm, the True Fire realm, the Golden Core realm, the Origin realm, the Transcendence realm, and the Final Tribulation realm. Moreover, this was only for mortals. Above mortals were saints, transcending mortality and entering sainthood. These were the true big shots of the universe, looking down on billions of living beings and treating countless people as ants. With a single thought, billions of lives were annihilated. What realm is a sage? Xiaoping was extremely curious about this. What realm is a sage? Corinne saw Xiaoping's longing appearance and immediately smiled. That is an unimaginable realm, an existence that is not on the same level as mortals. This kind of expert is an existence that can control a star field. With a single order, he can mobilize countless large sects and destroy countless countries. With a single palm, he can destroy a universe fleet. The Star Destroyer cannon is no different from scratching an itch for a saint. Back then, our myriad star sect master was also a saint. He was tyrannical and invincible. No matter where we were in the cosmos, we would be respected. No one dared to provoke our myriad star sect. Even the number of people who want to join the myriad star sect is like a school of carps crossing the river. If one isn't a monster, it would be impossible to join. But even so, it still can't stop many geniuses from wanting to join the myriad star sect. It was immensely proud of itself as it recalled the glory of the myriad star sect in the past. That was truly a place where 10,000 countries came to pay homage to. Even someone as powerful as him can die? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. Everyone will die. It's the same for saints. Corinne shook his head and sighed. At that time, Master was arrogant, but I didn't expect that there would always be someone stronger than him. He met an even more powerful sage, but he also died and his soul was annihilated in the void. After all, even sages have different levels of strength. Some can only rule over 1 star zone, while some can rule over tens of thousands of star zones. The difference is huge. Corinne sighed with emotion. He was thinking about how powerful the myriad star sect was in those days, and the sect master was a sage-like existence. He covered the sky with one hand, grabbed the stars and the moon, and had an endless lifespan. But he still died. Who killed him? Xiaoping asked curiously. Corinne shook his head as if it was a taboo topic. I can't say it, the sage has a vague feeling. If someone in the universe says his name or even has killing intent, he will immediately sense it. If the other party happens to be free and bored, he will probably travel through countless voids to kill the enemy. So, if you don't want to die, don't say anything. It didn't want to say the name of the saint. If it did, it would die. Moreover, with Xiaoping's strength, he was worse than cannon fodder, so there was no point in knowing. Don't you want revenge? Xiaoping looked at Corinne. Revenge my ass. That's a saint. How can he take revenge? There are billions of planets in the entire star field, and only one is qualified to give birth to such a person. Do you think that sages are so easy to kill? Moreover, the fact that the other party can kill a sage is even more monstrous. Corinne disdainfully said, actually at that time Master was also a bit wrong. He saw that the other party had a powerful magic weapon, so he wanted to kill him and snatch the treasure. But he didn't expect to run into a tough guy, and as a result he was killed instead. So, a person must be low-key, safe and steady, and don't casually provoke trouble. This way you can live a long and happy life. Provoking trouble everywhere is definitely because you don't want to die fast enough. If you often stand by the river, how can you not get your shoes wet? Corinne patiently taught Xiaoping some life experience, hoping that Xiaoping would be low-key in the future. If he encountered something, he would immediately become a cowardly tortoise. If he could not provoke trouble, he would not provoke trouble. Only in this way could he live a long life and not follow in the footsteps of his master. Yes, Corinne is right. I will keep it in mind. In the future, I will definitely be low-key and behave with my tail between my legs. Xiaoping nodded his head like pounding garlic. He looked as if he had received a great education, as if he had been enlightened. Corinne was very satisfied. It seemed that this last disciple of the myriad star sect could still be saved. He knew how to humbly accept lessons and be low-key. In the future, he would be able to survive very well in the universe. Well, let's cut the nonsense. You have passed the trial of the Multitude Starry Sect and have become a member of the Multitude Starry Sect. You are also the only successor of the Multitude Starry Sect. In the future, remember to carry forward the Multitude Starry Sect and recreate its glory. Now I will give you some rewards for passing the trial. Corinne waved his hand and 3 things immediately appeared in the air. One was a pitch-black robe, one was a command token carved with stars, and the last one was a silver-white ring. This is the Universal Protective Suit. Corinne pointed at these things. You can wear it and you can survive in the vacuum at will. It absorbs the energy of the universe and creates air inside the robe. Wearing this Universal Protective Suit, you can freely enter and exit all kinds of planets with harsh environments. At the same time, it also has an extremely strong defensive power. After wearing it, you can stand still in the same place. I estimate that even a Purple Mansion realm martial artist would find it very difficult to kill you. Originally, I could have given you a more advanced protective suit, but in order to let you have a little sense of crisis, I will only give you this level of protective suit. Xiaoping reached out and took it and immediately put it on. This protective suit was almost as light as a feather, almost without any feeling. Moreover, according to his mood, it can change into various colors and styles at will, and it can also automatically wash the clothes. It can be said that wearing this universal protective suit, it doesn't matter if you don't have other clothes. Also, this is the Myriad Star Sect's command token. With this command token, you can freely enter and exit this base. It also represents the identity of the Myriad Star Sect's sect leader. Of course, now that the Myriad Star Sect has been destroyed, this command token actually only has a symbolic meaning. Corinne continued, also this silver-white ring, this is the universe communication device. It is a high-level smart brain. Usually, I live in this smart brain. High-level smart brain. Xiaoping looked at the silver-white ring and was startled. Is this a supercomputer that is countless times more advanced than the current humans? Truly amazing. He took the silver-white ring and put it on his finger. This smart brain has a lot of abilities. It can translate almost all the languages in the universe, which can save you the trouble of not knowing the language of the universe. Corinne explained, it has also downloaded a lot of star maps. If in the future you go on a space voyage and don't have a star map, it will be very easy to get lost in the universe and be unable to return to the human world in this lifetime. Of course, the most important thing about this smart brain is that it can go on the universe virtual network. What? Chapter 860. How do I use it? Xiaoping looked at the silver ring curiously. No matter how he looked at it, it was just a ring and not a computer. Even if ordinary people found it, they probably wouldn't know how to use it. This is a high-level AI, similar to a treasure bound with the soul. Immortal Cat said, in the universe, pupils can be faked, fingerprints can be faked, but the soul can't be faked. So, using the soul to bind the AI, unless the owner gives the order, no one can remove the control. Amazing! Xiaoping exclaimed in admiration. His spiritual power immediately permeated it, and he immediately felt a trace of his soul energy enter the space of the silver ring. The human soul detected. Xiaoping, do you want to bind the AI and confirm as the first sequence? Immediately, a mechanical voice sounded in Xiaoping's mind. Yes, bind. Xiaoping didn't hesitate and immediately bound. Okay, confirm AI's first sequence. Xiaoping has the highest authority of AI, and has the supreme right to explain all AI rules. The mechanical voice sounded. Xiaoping's heart moved. He felt that he had a close connection with the AI, as if they were one. Even if he wanted to, he could change the ring into various shapes, and it could be invisible, not being discovered by others. His spiritual power even sensed a space of nothingness, as if he wanted to, he could enter that mysterious space of nothingness. Host Xiaoping, signal detected. Do you want to connect to the Universe Virtual Network now? The AI said. Connect to the Universe Virtual Network? Xiaoping's eyes lit up. Of course he had to connect. He was very curious about the universe. He suppressed his excitement and said in a deep voice, connect immediately. Ding! Immediately he felt the world spin, and his soul seemed to be sucked into a black hole. In the next second he appeared in another place. This is the virtual space? Xiaoping blinked and found that he had left the base of the ruins and arrived in a mysterious hall. Everywhere was made of white stones, emitting strange fluctuations. The surrounding walls were engraved with many mysterious inscriptions, unfathomable, but there was nothing around, just an empty hall. He felt it was very magical. He was clearly in the base of the ruins, but in an instant he arrived here. So real. Xia Ping clenched his fists, feeling the abundant power in his body. This was clearly just a virtual image, but it was almost the same as a real person. Every inch of power could burst out, perfectly simulated. Dong. He punched out like a barbaric elephant trampling on the ground, bombarding the surrounding walls, creating a loud sound. But the walls were not damaged at all. On the contrary, Xia Ping's fist was numb from the shock, and a trace of blood almost flowed out. It hurts. Feels so real. Xia Ping was shocked. Was this really just a virtual network? Even the sensation of pain could be simulated so realistically. It was truly incredible. Of course it's real. This isn't an ordinary virtual space, nor is it a simple virtual projection. With a swoosh, a mini kitten immediately appeared in front of Xia Ping and jumped onto his shoulder lightly. Xia Ping was very curious. He could see that this kitten was obviously Corinne. For this kind of intelligent life, it could change into whatever form it wanted. It depended on the mood of the intelligent life. What do you mean? Xia Ping asked. Corinne stroked his grizzled beard and said, This universe virtual network is a super virtual network created by the saints of the mechanical race, who have mastered the most advanced technology in the universe, by uniting many invincible saints. The signal can almost cover the entire universe. As long as someone has a communicator, they can receive the signal in every corner of the universe. Of course, there are some mysterious places or dangerous places where even saints can fall, where there is no way to receive the signal. This kind of virtual network is not a simple projection, but a soul projection, a spiritual projection. It completely simulates any physical state of the user. This projection also has the original body sense of pain, sight, taste, and other sensations, almost the same as a real person. So, don't be careless. If you die in the virtual network, although your body will not die, your spirit will be damaged and you won't be able to log into the virtual network again for a month. It warned Xia Ping not to act blindly without thinking. Dying in the virtual network was not without consequences. It would lead to damage to the soul. Xia Ping shivered. It seemed that this virtual network was not 100% safe. Listening to Corinne's warning, it was estimated that there would still be people dying in the huge virtual network. What is this place? Xia Ping looked around. Corinne said, This is the entrance hall of the universe virtual network. Entrance hall? Xia Ping was puzzled. Yes, this is the entrance hall, the starting place of the virtual network. Corinne explained, From this place you can choose to enter many virtual spaces such as the entertainment space. There are all kinds of movies and TV works to watch, you can interact with virtual characters, and there are also all kinds of universe games you can play. In the learning space, you can learn all kinds of advanced martial arts knowledge and technology. Of course, these knowledge are not free, you need universe coins. In addition, there are social spaces, fighting spaces, and so on. If you want to go to any place, you can teleport there from this entrance hall. It is very fast. It waved its hand, and immediately the entire hall underwent earth-shaking changes. Space doors appeared, emitting white rays of light with the word space written on them. These words were in the universal language. Xia Ping naturally did not understand them, but the AI translated them into Yanhuang Star's language. Of course, for the universe virtual network, the most important thing is the martial arts space. Corinne said in a deep voice. Xia Ping did not speak and listened quietly. The martial arts space is one of the greatest inventions of the virtual network. This has made the development of the human race's martial arts rise geometrically, and sages have continuously emerged. This is also the foundation of the human race to become the peak race of the universe. Corinne sighed with emotion. In this martial arts space, time is 10 times longer than the outside world. It can be said that in this place, you can use 10 times the time to practice martial arts. Moreover, the spiritual projection is training in the martial arts space, constantly sharpening, and after returning to the real world, all the martial arts experience will be fed back to the body, constantly transforming, as if the real body is training here. It is precisely because of this that human race continuously emerges strong experts, and mass production is endless. Amazing. Chapter 861. What? Xia Ping was speechless. He looked at the group of little kids who only reached his waist surrounding him and talking about him as if they were looking at a panda. He couldn't say anything. Didn't I enter the martial arts space? Why did I come to this place that looked like a kindergarten? Right, I almost forgot to tell you. Corinne's voice came at this time. You haven't advanced to the Purple Mansion realm yet. For the virtual system, You are just a child who hasn't grown up, so you will be sent to the novice village to develop in peace. After you advance to the Purple Mansion realm, you will be qualified to go out of the novice village and come to the main big cities to live. Don't worry, the strongest in the novice village is only at the 9th level of Grandmaster. There shouldn't be any danger. Of course, it is precisely because of their weak strength that most of the people in the novice village are little kids who haven't reached adulthood. It was a little gloating. Little kid? Xiaoping's mouth twitched. He was a Grandmaster in the Cloud Realm, but when he came to the virtual network, he was treated as a little kid who hadn't reached adulthood. The gap was too big. He also understood what was called the vastness of the universe. His strength was not even at the entry level. But are these also humans? Why are they all so strange? Xiaoping looked at the group of little kids and felt as if he had entered a monster's nest. Some children had long horns on their heads, some were like elves, some had wings, some were like vampires with sharp fangs, and some had 3 eyes. Although they all looked like humans, he felt very strange. Of course they are all humans. Corinne said, the human race in the universe is a general term. Extremely mediocre humans like your Yanhuang planet are in the minority. Most of the human race in the universe have powerful abilities. There are elves who have a natural affinity with plants just like the children of nature. There are bloodlust star who grow by sucking the blood of strong enemies. They can even obtain the opponent's martial arts experience and majestic energy from the blood. There are fiend star who are born with a strong physique and can easily enter and exit all kinds of planets with harsh environments. Some of them are from the barbaric bull planet. They have the immense strength of the primordial barbaric bull. Their strength is enough to uproot mountains, and they are not inferior to the heaven-devouring mammoths. They've gone through generations of bloodline selections and metamorphoses. Their bloodlines have become extremely powerful. Some humans were born with a violet palace and were born into the king realm. Their starting point is so much stronger than ordinary humans. However, even with an astonishing bloodline, it is still extremely difficult to become a sage. It briefly explains some general knowledge of the universe. Xiaoping was suddenly enlightened. In that case, the Yanhuang people were still a minority in the universe. In the eyes of others, he was probably still an alien. Look, this big brother is so strange. A little girl stared at Xiaoping with her eyes wide open, as if she had discovered a shocking secret. How strange. He doesn't have any horns on his head? Oh my god, he really doesn't have any horns or a tail. How does he keep his balance while walking? He doesn't have 3 eyes either. He's not from our 3-eyed race. He doesn't seem to have wings either. Does he not know how to fly? I've read about such humans in books. They seem to be called primitive people. To put it simply, they are natives. It is said that because the natives have no sense of crisis, many of their organs have degenerated and become extremely weak. For them, it is extremely difficult to open a violet palace. Wow, I've actually seen a native. Oh my god, I've only seen it on TV before. I didn't expect to see one in real life. It's incredible. Be careful, don't get close to him. I heard that those natives are bloodthirsty and will eat people. What are you afraid of? This is the virtual space. You can't eat people. Yeah, then we don't need to be afraid at all. Amazing, I touched a native. It's very elastic. Can this native speak? Can he only speak the native language and doesn't understand what we're talking about? A group of little Lolas and little boys rushed over, blinking their big watery eyes, touching, pinching and poking Xiaoping here and there, as if they were touching a national treasure, a panda. They were extremely curious. Xiaoping stood in place. After a long time, these little kids didn't seem to be tired of touching. Xiaoping couldn't help it anymore. He grabbed a little girl who was trying to climb on his head and put her on the ground. While this native moved. A little girl was shocked. The native didn't move before, so she thought he wouldn't move. She didn't expect him to move now. She was so scared that she cried. Native, don't bully Jiejia. The little fatty immediately threw away the elephant leg he was eating and smashed it on the ground with a bang, immediately creating a deep pit with smoke and dust billowing. Boom. His small body erupted with terrifying power, just like a cub of a divine beast, exerting the power of the supreme power realm 5th heaven. It was extremely violent and tore the air apart. He just punched. Amazing. Xiaoping didn't expect that this 7 or 8-year-old little boy actually had the power of the supreme power realm 5th heaven. It was too abnormal. Compared with this little boy, many supreme masters in the cloud world were simply living like dogs. However, this little power was nothing for Xiaoping, who had cultivated the Dark North body protection skill and the star attraction skill. He gently patted with his palm. Boom. The little fatty's fist hit Xiaoping's palm and there was a roar. The air exploded, and the original violent power was instantly absorbed by Xiaoping. Xiaoping didn't move. The little fatty was also shaken more than 10 meters away and smashed on the ground, creating a small pit and covering the ground with dust. But he had a strong physique, so he was still unscathed. What a powerful native. Eat my punch. The little boy in a black suit was still standing in the distance, with a proud and independent aura. It seemed that he disdained to stoop to the level of other friends, but when he saw Xiaoping's strength, he suddenly became excited, and his black pupils were full of fighting intent. Swish. In an instant, his small body actually broke through 3 times the speed of sound, like a black whirlwind bombarding. The surrounding sound was deafening, and the earth was shaken until cracks appeared. This little boy had the strength of the Supreme Power Realm 6th Heaven. Xiaoping didn't look at it and patted with his palm again, like an ox's tail swatting a mosquito. It was powerful and the angle was accurate, making it impossible to dodge. Bang! Half of the air strength was shattered, and the little boy couldn't resist it. He returned as fast as he came. In an instant he smashed into a house 100 meters away, and a big hole was immediately shaken. Chapter 862. Why can't I go in? Xiaoping stepped forward and came to the door of the martial arts space. He reached out and pushed it. He found that the space door was tightly shut and extremely sturdy. No matter how hard he tried, he could not move it at all. Of course I can't go in. Corinne smiled slightly. You're an unregistered citizen now. You don't even have a virtual network account. How can you go in? If you want to go in, you have to create a virtual network account first. But don't worry. Master thought of this long ago, so he prepared a lot of fake identity information before he died. You can use these identity information to log into the universe virtual network. With a wave of his hand, a virtual page appeared in front of Xiaoping. There was a lot of household registration information on it. Place of birth, Jinyuan City, Lingyun Nation's Black Soil Planet, age 19, parents dead, born in an orphanage, and so on. The information on it even included Xiaoping's birth, growth, education, and so on. He was no different from a real Black Soil Planet person. No one could find anything wrong with him. The so-called Lingyun Nation seemed to be a huge cosmic empire near the Cloud Realm. It controlled 3 star fields, had countless planets, and had many powerhouses. Black Soil Planet was a native planet at the border of Lingyun Nation. It was just an inconspicuous place among the vast planets. It was so poor that no one would pay attention to it. Why is there no name? Xiaoping did not see his name on the information. Corinne stroked his beard and said, "This is Master's good intention. He was worried that you wouldn't like the name he came up with, so he left the decision of the name to you. Of course, don't expose your real information in the virtual network. Otherwise you may encounter great trouble. People will really come looking for trouble through the network." He looked at Xiaoping. At first, Xiaoping thought of a real name, but after thinking about it carefully, he decided not to. He decided to come up with a fake name and immediately filled it in. Wu Wudi. Corinne looked at the name on it and with a snap, a strand of his beard was pulled off. He immediately hit Xiaoping and scolded, "Brat, what did you do? You named yourself Wu Wudi. Do you want to be beaten up when you go out? Do you know what this name means? It's simply attracting bees and butterflies. You're asking for a beating." Its face turned green. Just as it was about to stop Xiaoping, Xiaoping's eyes and hands were sharp, and he had already clicked confirm. The data had been modified and there was no way to change it anymore. In this world where martial arts prevailed, where martial arts reigned supreme and monstrous geniuses coexisted, which martial artist was not proud and arrogant, thinking that they were the best in the world? Now there was someone who dared to call himself unrivaled Wu. If this wasn't courting death, what was? Did he really think that the disciples of the major sects and aristocratic clans were weak? If this was discovered, this brat would probably have to bear the consequences. Senior, you are too serious. Names are just code names, why do you care about it? Xiaoping waved his hand, thinking that Corinne was making a fuss about nothing. Moreover, he was doing it on purpose. If he didn't attract bees and butterflies and didn't become the target of public criticism, how could he earn hatred? This was the effect he wanted. With this name on his head, it was hard not to attract hatred. Codename my ass. Corinne was so angry that his beard curled up. Before, he had told this brat to be low-key, to behave with his tail between his legs and not to cause trouble. Now he hasn't even started and he already has this wicked name. How could he be low-key? But now that the data had been modified, it was impossible to change it. It had no choice but to go on like this. It hoped that this brat would not cause trouble. Senior, can I enter this martial arts space? Xiaoping was eager to give it a try. He couldn't wait to go in and see the humans of the whole universe. He didn't know how many martial arts experts would compete. Go in, Corinne said snappily. Now it could only be like this. Let this brat suffer a little first, then he would know what low-key is. Anyway, there were many fake identities. If this identity didn't work, he would change to another identity. Perhaps it would be a good thing to take this opportunity to let this brat know what the dangers of the universe were. Otherwise, if he still didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth after entering the real universe, then it would be big trouble. Thinking of this, his mood was a lot better. Whoosh. As soon as his voice fell, Xiaoping immediately walked toward the gate of the martial arts space. This time, there was no obstruction, and he immediately entered the light gate. The next second, his whole body was transmitted to another place. Xiaoping immediately found himself leaving the initiation hall and was transmitted to an open space. This seemed to be a simple and unadorned village, surrounded by many ancient buildings with an antique charm. In the distance, there was a continuous rise and fall of mountains, one after another, as if he was in a primeval forest, vast and boundless, with tall trees, lush and verdant, birds singing, and fragrant flowers. The surrounding air was filled with the fragrance of flowers, which was very refreshing. It was no different from the real world. Wow, look, someone is coming in. Suddenly Xiaoping heard a nine-eye voice. He turned his head and looked. The person who spoke was a little lowly with a height of about 1 meter, wearing a white princess dress. She had a pair of pointy ears, amber pupils, and a pair of transparent wings on her back. Her whole body was emitting an ethereal aura. She was simply like an elf that walked out of the myths. The other party was blinking her big eyes, looking at him curiously, as if wondering why he appeared in this place. Really? Someone really came in, and it seems to be a big brother. There was also a little elf girl at the side, looking at Xiaoping curiously. Her big eyes were very pure. Why did he come to our novice village when he's already so big? Yeah, the adults who opened up the Purple Palace should have all left, so they can't come to the novice village. Could it be that this big brother is actually an idiot, and couldn't even graduate from primary school? There were also many little kids gathered at the side. They all gathered and looked at Xiaoping as if they were looking at a rare animal. He looks stupid, so I know he's not smart. A little boy with 2 bull horns on his head, black pupils, and wearing a black suit stood with his arms crossed. He had an arrogant look on his face as if he was looking down on Xiaoping. Adults nowadays are really all useless. They can't even graduate from primary school. A little fat boy held a thick elephant leg in his hand. It was roasted until it was golden yellow, and he ate it in big mouthfuls. This little fat boy was not simple either. There were red inscriptions engraved all over his body, and every inch of his muscles emitted explosive power. He was like a calf, and his strength was shocking. Chapter 863. The natives are bullying us. Subdue him. We can't let him hurt people. Yes, let's go together and knock the natives out. Seeing this aborigine suddenly attack, many little boys and little lolas were shocked. However, all of them were martial artists and lived in the era of the Grand Universe. The children of Yanhuang Star were simply incomparable to this aborigine. What haven't they seen before? Moreover, they were all skilled and bold. In the virtual space, they rushed up one by one like cannonballs, wanting to completely subdue Xiaoping. Xiaoping was very casual, and he struck again and again. Although the strength of these little kids was amazing, more terrible than the human masters of the Sky Realm, they were too young and still very immature in the cultivation of martial arts. It would be good if they could use 30% of their strength. Unlike the masters of the Sky Realm, each of them had cultivated for decades or even hundreds of years. They had long mastered martial arts to the point of mastery and perfection. They could use 70% to 80% of their strength, and some could even use it completely. Their understanding of martial arts was not comparable to these children. Therefore, it was very easy for him to deal with them. He saw through the flaws of these children's martial arts at a glance and easily defeated these attacking children. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, the children were slapped to the ground by Xiaoping, and suddenly a human-shaped pit was formed. These naughty children screamed in pain, but they were still lively. Although this was also due to Xiaoping's mercy, it was enough to prove the terrifying physique of this group of children. They were definitely carefully cultivated. They grew up soaking in medicinal baths, and the power of their bloodline was very amazing. If they were in the sky realm, they would probably all be monsters. It hurts. This native is so powerful. We are no match for him at all. What's going on? Didn't they say that the natives are very weak? Why are we being beaten so badly? Bad native, even my father didn't beat me like this. What should we do? The native is coming to eat us. A group of children screamed and looked at Xia Ping in fear. Don't be noisy. If you cry again, I will eat you. With a slap, Xia Ping stretched out his hand and hit each of them on the head. The pain made their eyes water, but under the threat of force they did not dare to cry, for fear of being eaten by the native. Native brother, don't eat us. We don't taste good. A little lowly looked at Xia Ping pitifully. Don't worry, under normal circumstances, I won't eat you as long as you answer my questions honestly. Xia Ping said snappily. Although his expression was not very fierce in the eyes of this group of children, he looked like a fiend. The group of brats nodded their heads like chickens pecking at grains, indicating that they would be well behaved. They had never been so well behaved since they were young. They had always been mischievous and stirring up trouble. How do I get out of this novice village? Xia Ping didn't want to continue staying in this novice village with a group of wimpy kids. He reckoned that Corinne also knew how to get out, but he wanted to watch a good show, so he deliberately didn't say anything. Therefore he could only ask this group of children. Leave the newbie village? A little lowly blinked her eyes. It's very simple. As long as you go to the martial arts school in the village and pass the test, you can leave this place. There is another way, and that is to open up the Violet Palace. This way we can also leave. She told him honestly. Opening the Violet Palace. Wouldn't that promote to the King realm? Xia Ping was speechless. He reckoned that it would be impossible for him to promote to the King realm in a short period of time. However, this martial arts school was a bit interesting. It seemed to be a school to train this group of children in martial arts skills. Maybe if he entered this martial arts school, he would have a huge harvest. Let's go. Corinne, who had been silent all this time, suddenly opened his mouth and said, If you can pass the test of this martial arts school, it should be of great benefit to you. What do you mean? Xia Ping immediately asked. This Corinne suddenly reminded him. He reckoned that this martial arts school really had a huge trick, so Corinne had no choice but to remind him. You know, this martial arts space was jointly created by many human saints. The purpose is to train the younger generation of human race. Corinne said, so in this space they also set up a lot of mission checkpoints and tests. If you can pass them or even pass them with excellent results, you can get a huge reward. If you are particularly outstanding, you can even be personally accepted by the saints as a disciple and reach the sky in a single bound. It indicated that this martial arts space was not as simple as training martial skills, there were more mysteries. Reward? What kind of reward? Xia Ping was very curious about this. Some are powerful treasured weapons, some are peerless secret books, and there may be a lot of universe coins, even elixirs and so on. As long as you can pass the test, the saints will not be stingy because these things are nothing to them. Corinne said excitedly, this is a great opportunity and there is no danger to your life, so you should grasp it. Xia Ping waved his hand. Even if there are treasured weapons and elixirs as rewards, I am now above the cloud world. Even if I really get it, I can't get it. It doesn't matter. Corinne said, we can completely get rid of the help of the Universe Skypiercer Express Company. They have an extremely strong wormhole transmission technology. As long as they know our space coordinates, they can quickly transmit over. Of course, each transmission costs a lot of universe coins, which are very expensive. Ordinary people are simply not willing to spend. According to its explanation, universe coins are actually the universal currency in the universe. Buying all kinds of treasures in the universe is through universe coins, and other currencies are not recognized. Universe Skypiercer Express Company? Xia Ping did not expect there to be such a powerful company in the universe, able to transmit to every corner of the universe in an instant. What kind of amazing technology does it take to achieve this? It was simply unimaginable. However, he was also very worried that if the location of the cloud world space was leaked to the Universe Skypiercer Express Company, would it cause great trouble? If those aliens were to attack, perhaps no one in the entire cloud world would be able to resist. That would really be a world-ending disaster, unimaginable. You don't need to worry about this. Corinne also saw Xia Ping's worry. The Universe Skypiercer Express Company is a neutral force, detached from the outside world, and no organization can affect its operation. Moreover, they also ensure that the privacy of every customer is absolutely not leaked. So far, there has not been a disaster caused by the Universe Skypiercer Express company leaking secrets. It meant that this company was incomparably powerful, detached from everything, and no force could affect it. Chapter 864. So that's how it is. Xiaoping was very excited. If that was the case, then wouldn't he be able to buy things in the universe and then directly teleport to the sky realm? If he could buy a few powerful technological weapons, he could simply do whatever he wanted. Seeing Xiaoping's excited look, Corinne squinted and immediately poured cold water on him, saying, "Don't even think about such a good thing. Although the Universe Skypiercer Express company can teleport a lot of items, every time a wormhole teleportation is opened, it requires a lot of universe dollars. The cheapest one requires millions of universe dollars. If the distance is too far and the item is too big, it is possible to send tens of billions of universe dollars." It indicated that the express fee was very expensive and worth a lot. Xiaoping didn't care and said, "How do I earn universe dollars?" As long as there was a way, it was fine. As for whether this method was difficult or easy, there was no need to consider. There are many ways to earn universe dollars, such as becoming a universe mercenary, completing various employers' missions, hunting universe monsters, obtaining precious raw materials, going on adventures, etc. Corinne said, "But for you who can't even get out of the sky realm, the only way to earn universe dollars is to complete the martial arts space's missions and get an excess reward. As for how much you can get, it depends on your performance." Xiaoping blinked his eyes. As a former super force, didn't multi-star sect leave me billions of universe dollars? Even a rotten ship has 3 nails. He reached out to Corinne for money. "I don't have money, but I have my life," Corinne said snappily. "If I had money, why would I be trapped in the sky realm for tens of thousands of years? I would have bought all kinds of equipment, repaired the broken spaceship, and left this damn place." In order to avoid being chased by the sage, multi-star sect fled quickly and didn't even dare to touch their bank account. They changed their appearance and didn't have a dime on them. It bared its teeth, indicating that the sage was too fierce. Once the money in multi-star sect's account was used, the sage would immediately know and chase them to kill them. They don't even have money. It seems that multi-star sect is really poor now. Xiaoping sighed. Cat Immortal was so angry that it almost pulled out a few strands of its whiskers. "This hateful bastard touching my sore spot." It simply wished it could take out a few million universe coins and throw it at this brat's face. Thinking of this, Xiaoping touched his chin. "Forget it if you don't have money. Let's go and take a look. What is this martial arts school?" After saying that, he strode forward. Under the lead of a group of wimpy children, they turned left and right, and very soon, they arrived at the most prosperous central area of the village. Immediately, a huge white courtyard appeared in front of Xiaoping. It emitted a faint glow and looked indestructible. At this moment, there were more than a dozen soldiers standing in front of the house like poles, seemingly guarding this place. "Stop, this is the Martial Arts Academy. What are you doing here?" His tone was very solemn. He was not a real human but a virtual character in this virtual world. However, the AI granted him a high level of intelligence, allowing him to live like a normal life form, but he lacked emotions. "I want to participate in the assessment," Xiaoping immediately said. "Examination? Each test costs 10 universe dollars. Pay up and you can come in for the test." Hearing these words, the soldier nodded expressionlessly as if it was a routine job. What? Xiaoping was speechless. He had never heard of this before. The assessment actually required money? His pocket was even cleaner than his face. Not to mention 10 universe dollars, he did not even have 1 universe dollar. After all, the money of the cloud realm could not be used in the universe at all. No one would admit that. "Native Big Brother, what's wrong? Aren't you going in for the assessment? Why don't you go in?" A little girl asked curiously when she saw Xiaoping standing at the door, seemingly hesitant to go in. Seeing the little girl's expression, Xiaoping's heart moved. He had no money, but weren't these little kids rich? Maybe he could ask them for help. "I can't go in. I don't have universe dollars on me." Xiaoping spread his hands and directly explained the reason why he could not go in. "No universe dollars? What is universe dollars?" "I heard from my dad that universe dollars are very powerful. They can buy a lot of toys and delicious food." "Wow, universe dollars are really powerful. I also want universe dollars." "Stupid, universe dollars are very difficult to get. I heard that adults have to work to get them." No, you guys are wrong. During the new year, a lot of adults gave me universe dollars saying that it was for me. Yes, 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 I also received a lot of universe dollars. I think mom and dad said that they have already deposited it in a bank account. What's a bank account? Open your personal information. There is a bank account there. You can check your universe dollars. I see. Dong Dong, you are really too smart. I have already found it. A group of little kids chattered. Some of them did not seem to know what universe dollars were and had a confused look on their faces. However, there were also children who revealed the appearance of a little adult. They knew this kind of thing like the back of their hands. They seemed to have received elite education and came into contact with the concept of money early. Look, I also found my bank account. A little girl reached out and clicked on a virtual page. Suddenly she shouted, but there are so many zeros on it. What does this mean? She looked at the bank account with a distressed expression. Wow, Jia, you are so rich. You have 3 million universe dollars on it. A little fatty went over to take a look and immediately said the number. 3 million universe dollars? Hearing this number, Xiaoping was still a little confused. He did not know what it meant, but Corinne was so scared that he pulled out a few strands of his beard. This little girl's family was definitely super tycoon. After all, a human at the Purple Mansion realm could only earn 500 universe dollars a month as a doorkeeper and a servant. A slightly stronger fulfillment realm cultivator could only earn 1,500 universe credits a month. A divine realm could be considered to be moderately well off and could earn 4,000 universe dollars a month. A treasure refinement realm was even more impressive and could earn 10,000 universe dollars a month. Some with better skills could earn even more. If they chose to be their own boss, their income might multiply. But even so, it was extremely difficult to earn 3 million universe dollars. This was simply an astronomical figure that scared people to death. How do you have so many universe dollars? Xiaoping asked curiously. The little girl had a distressed expression. I don't know either. Every year during the new year or my birthday, many adults would run over and constantly give me red packets. They would give me money and wish me a happy new year. After that, mom deposited these things in the bank. Chapter 865. Hearing these words, Corinne was speechless. Comparing oneself to others was really infuriating. If ordinary people wanted to earn universe coins, it was unknown how difficult it was. Even if they risked their lives, they might not be able to earn much. But she was good. On holidays or birthdays, a group of people were anxious to give her money, and unknowingly she had more than 1 million universe coins. The gap between people was really too big. Wow, Jia, I also found it, I also have 1 million universe coins. Amazing, there are also a lot of zeros on it, it seems to be 900,000 universe coins. Me too, I also have 800,000 universe coins. How did these numbers appear? Why haven't I seen them before? How do we spend so many universe coins? How many toys and snacks can we buy? We can't spend it, mom said that it is to pay for school fees. The group of children chattered. They all checked the amount in their bank accounts and all of them shouted, seemingly very excited as if they had discovered a new continent. Corinne grimaced. This group of brats was definitely a group of super rich second-generation kids. Otherwise, how could each of them have so many universe coins as if they did not treat universe coins as money? Ordinary people estimated that their lifetime savings would not reach hundreds of thousands of universe coins, but this group of brats had so much money just from the red packets they gave every year. Earning money was simply too easy. Little friend. Hearing these words, Xiaoping's eyes lit up and said, Are you interested in handing over the money in your bank accounts to Big Brother for safekeeping? I promise that you will not suffer a loss. He looked like a big bad wolf looking at Little Red Riding Hood. Not interested. The little fatty looked at Xiaoping with contempt. You are definitely a bad person, you want to cheat us children of our money. Don't think that I can't see through your evil purpose. My mom said that you can't casually trust strangers. The group of children also looked at Xiaoping with contempt. How could it be cheating money? You misunderstood, who is more simple than us aborigines? Xiaoping showed a look of awe-inspiring righteousness, saying that he was an aborigine and would not cheat money. Yes, this Big Brother is an aborigine. It is said that the aborigines don't know anything, they are very simple and have not seen much of the world, they are almost like animals. It seems so, they probably don't even know what universe coins are. In that case we might have misunderstood Big Brother native. But I don't know why, but I keep feeling that something is wrong, but I can't tell what it is. The group of children also nodded. They also remembered Xiaoping's identity as an aborigine, and their vigilance was greatly reduced. For them, aliens, aboriginals were almost the same as pets, and they could visit the exhibition. There were also some smart children who still looked at Xiaoping suspiciously. As long as everyone believes that I'm not a liar, the misunderstanding has been resolved. Xiaoping said, I'm not trying to cheat you of your money by asking you to hand it over to me for safekeeping. Rather, I'm borrowing it from you. We can write a promissory note and we can't deny it. For example, you have 1.3 million federal coins on you. If you lend it to me, I can pay you back over 100 years. I will pay you back 13,000 federal coins every year, so that you can earn money every year and live for 100 years with money to spend. Now that you think about it, don't you think it's a good deal? He told them his annual repayment plan, indicating that it would be of great benefit to them. That sounds awesome. You'll be able to earn money even if you live for 100 years. Every year you can get a large sum of universe coins. It seems to be a good deal. It seems that the Aboriginal Big Brother really isn't lying to us. He is giving us benefits. The eyes of the group of children lit up. They suddenly felt that Xiaoping was not a liar. He would give them money for 100 years, and he even signed a contract and wrote a promissory note so he wouldn't lie. How about it? Don't you think this condition is very attractive? If you are willing to lend me money, then you can earn money every year in the future and you can buy a lot of toys and snacks continuously. This is actually an investment, and you don't need to work to earn money. If your parents hear about this, they will definitely be very happy and think that you have grown up. Xiaoping said carelessly. Yeah, if we tell our parents about this, they will definitely praise us. Some adults can only earn money by working, but now we can earn money as children. We are many times better than them. If DeBeo and the others knew about this, they would definitely envy us. Aboriginal Big Brother, I'll lend you the money. Sign a contract with me. No, I'll lend you the money first. No, I'll lend you the money. I have the most money. Many children were duped, and they all scrambled to lend money to Xiaoping. Seeing this situation, Corinne, it was speechless. It felt that this kid's face was extremely thick. Even a Star Destroyer cannon couldn't penetrate it. Blatantly cheating children's money, shameless to the extreme. He also said that it would be returned in 100 years and he would earn money every year. Earn my ass. It's just paying off the other party's principal in 100 years, that's all. There isn't even any interest. This is simply swindling a white wolf with bare hands. Even a bank is not as treacherous as this guy. Xiaoping was also a little guilty, but there was nothing he could do about it. Who told him to be an aboriginal, and he had no way to earn universe coins, so he had to use this kind of small method to carry out primitive accumulation. Extraordinary people do extraordinary things, and he would not rigidly adhere to any rules. Moreover, he was not really swindling the children's money. The money still had to be returned, but it would be divided in 100 years, that's all. If he earned more money in a short time, of course he would return it in time. Of course, the most important thing was that these children were still in the small government, and their families were not short of money. This amount of money was just a drop in the ocean for them, so he was at ease to borrow it and return it in the future. Not long after, he signed a loan agreement with this group of children, and at the same time he borrowed all their money. The amount was extremely huge, reaching 23 million universe coins. If this amount was placed in the universe, it would definitely scare a lot of ordinary people to death. This damn aboriginal didn't do anything, but he actually became a multimillionaire. God knows how many ordinary people he has surpassed. Thank you, Big Brother. Remember to share the money with us every year, or else we will ask Dad to beat you. Yeah, don't lie to us. The group of children chattered noisily. Rest assured, am I the kind of aboriginal who would lie? There is no one in the world who is more honest than me. If you don't believe me, I will now transfer the first year's money to you, and let you enjoy the pleasure of making money. Xiaoping immediately transferred the first year's money to them, and all of a sudden he lost 230,000 universe coins. For this amount, it was just a drop in the ocean. Chapter 866. Oh no, it's time. Why is it so fast? I have to go back to school. The little loli suddenly called out, seeming to remember this extremely important matter. Then she showed a bitter expression as if she really did not want to go to school. She felt that the place was the lair of a super monster and that it was extremely dangerous. Yeah, it's time. I have to go to school too. Go offline. It'll be bad if you're late. That old witch is angry and will definitely tell the parents. Well, run quickly. It'll be terrible if you get caught. The children also remembered this matter. They all panicked and quickly went offline. After all, if they were late to school, they would definitely be punished by the teacher. Especially since their teacher was famous for being strict. There was no child who was not afraid of her. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In the next second, the figures of these children all disappeared on the spot, teleported back to the starting point. Going to school? Seeing the group of children panicking, Xia Ping was very emotional. Even in the universe, going to school was something that many children hated. But he did not think too much about it. He turned around and went to the martial arts hall. Do you want to go in for the assessment? There was a guard in front of the martial arts hall. He was expressionless and asked routinely. Whenever someone approached the martial arts hall, he would ask. It had become a routine. Of course. Xia Ping was very rich now. A mere 10 universe dollars was simply a drop in the bucket. Bang. As soon as the voice fell, 10 universe dollars were immediately deducted from Xia Ping's bank account. Then the martial arts hall door opened, and the guard made an inviting gesture. 1. Reading? What? Read? Without hesitation, he lifted his feet and walked in. However, this martial arts hall was ordinary, just like an ordinary martial arts hall. As soon as he entered, he saw a huge martial arts field, but it was empty all around. There was nothing, not even martial arts equipment. It was just a martial arts field. Whoosh. At this moment, a ball of light suddenly appeared in the void. Then it quickly condensed into a figure. It was a middle-aged man with a full beard. He was 1.9 meters tall. He was simply a burly man. His whole body was bulging with muscles and he was as hard as a rock. Standing in place, he was like an unshakable reef. Even in the face of the ferocious waves, he remained motionless, giving off a tyrannical aura. But in the blink of an eye, his body also exuded a peaceful and harmonious aura. It was as if the instant he appeared, the air within a radius of several hundred meters had calmed down, and all the fighting had disappeared, forming an absolute domain. But in an instant, the aura on his body became incomparably violent. It was like a falling meteor or an exploding star, containing the power to destroy heaven and earth. However, after a while his aura changed again. He was high and mighty, looking down on all living things like a god. It was as if he could suppress the entire starry sky with a wave of his hand. An expert. Xia Ping immediately sensed that the figure condensed from this mass of light was definitely an unprecedented super expert. Even though he had seen fierce gods like the heaven-devouring demon Venerable and the soul-devouring beast, they were far inferior compared to this figure. It was as if this was the true ruler of this universe, possessing great power that mortals could not resist. This is the phantom of a sage. Corinne's pupils contracted, and he clicked his tongue in admiration. As expected of the universe virtual network. A mere martial arts school assessment in a novice village actually simulates the phantom of a sage. It's really abnormal. Sage Phantom? Xia Ping blinked his eyes and looked at Corinne. The so-called Sage Phantom is an energy puppet that simulates all the martial arts cultivation and experience of a sage. Although it is not comparable to a real sage, it still has 60 to 70% of his strength and is extremely powerful. Corinne said in a deep voice. It's still like this? Xia Ping was speechless. Fighting with a sage, isn't this courting death? Who can pass? Corinne laughed. Of course it's not fighting with a sage at his peak. This is just a martial arts assessment, so this Sage Phantom will suppress its strength to the same level of martial arts as you, and then fight with you. It is responsible for assessing your martial arts skills, combat awareness and control of various martial arts. But don't think that this is very simple. A sage has cultivated all his martial arts to a perfect and flawless level. His vision and experience are many times more than ordinary people. This is a perfect and flawless realm. Even if you suppress your own strength and fight with ordinary people, even if 100 ordinary people join together, they would still not be his opponent. The disparity is huge. It indicated that the strength of the Sage Phantom was extremely frightening. Of course, it was also the best opponent to assess his martial arts level. However, it was estimated that not every novice village was so extravagant as to actually use the Sage Phantom as an examiner. Perhaps this novice village was very special, gathering many super geniuses, super rich second generations, and could be regarded as a small monster village. Therefore, the examiner in this village was also very abnormal, and the assessment standard would be correspondingly raised. Strange, why was I teleported to this village? Xia Ping looked puzzled. Although Xia Ping didn't understand, Corinne had some guesses because the universe virtual network itself was a powerful AI, who knows how many times more powerful than Corinne? Countless humans who entered the universe virtual network would be instantly scanned by the AI, knowing each person's physical condition and physical potential. Therefore, according to different people's qualifications and strength, the AI would automatically assign people to which martial arts space and which novice village they would go to. Perhaps Xiaoping's infinite potential was also detected by the virtual network system, so he was assigned to this small monster village and was regarded as the same kind as this group of small monsters. Coming to this novice village was actually a coincidence, but it was also a kind of inevitability. Ding dong, at this time, a mechanical voice sounded in the martial arts school space. The assessment will begin in 10 minutes, examinee Wu Wudi, please get ready. Xiaoping took a deep breath, adjusted his breathing, stabilized his emotions, and let himself be in an ethereal state. His heart was like a mirror without any ripples. Fighting with the Sage Phantom, it was impossible to do it without 120% of spirit. If there was a moment of negligence, he would probably be defeated in an instant. The assessment begins. 10 minutes passed in the blink of an eye, and the mechanical voice sounded again. Rumble. As soon as he finished speaking, the apparition of the sage immediately moved. He didn't make any other movements at all, just a punch. It was as if Mount Tai was pressing down on him. It was upright and powerful, as if he didn't want to use any tricks. He used an absolute fist technique to crush his opponent. It was like a mountain pouring down, a river collapsing, and a land sinking. A punch blasted out. Chapter 867. So strong. Xiaoping was shocked. He actually saw that in an instant, there were 1,000 fists blasted out by the phantom of the sage, which crushed over with overwhelming force, making people breathless. In the air, it was full of dense fist prints, condensed into a substance, like an army of thousands of people rushing over, as if to completely crush people to death, leaving them nowhere to escape. Was this the strength of the fourth heaven of supreme power realm? He couldn't imagine that this phantom of the sage had suppressed his cultivation to the same realm as himself. It was estimated that in the cloud realm, even the seventh heaven of supreme power realm would be killed by a punch. In fact, this was not a very delicate move just because the speed of the phantom of the sage was too fast. 1,000 punches in a second caused such a terrible power, which was extremely fierce. Dark North Protection Skill. Xiaoping immediately made a move, his hands turned into a circle and ran the Dark North Protection Skill. A rock instantly jumped out of the air and wrapped his body. Bang! Bang! The fist prints blasted in an instant, and the power of each punch was terrifying. It was like a mountain rolling over, extremely heavy, and the fist force was condensed to the extreme and oppressed to the limit. How is it possible? Xiaoping's pupils shrank because he found that even though his Dark North Protection Skill was extremely strong in defense, in the face of this condensed fist force, it was almost impossible to resolve. Because the fist force of each punch seemed to have a strong spiral force. This force was constantly rotating, and even the Dark North Protection Skill was difficult to resolve. Even if he could resolve the fist force of one punch, how could he resolve it so quickly when thousands of punches attacked at the same time? This was simply beyond the current limit of the Dark North Protection Skill. Suddenly, such a fist shook his blood and chi, and his body was in a state of numbness, and even his body had severe pain. The terrifying fist force generated a spiral, constantly penetrated his lungs, and was about to seriously injure his body. This is the phantom of the sage? It's too strong. Originally, Xiaoping thought that he could easily defeat a supreme power master of the same level at the fourth heaven of supreme power realm, but facing this phantom of the sage whose strength was exactly the same as his, he was beaten to the point that he had no power to fight back and was completely suppressed. The strength of the opponent was not beyond his, and the speed was only about the same, but the fist technique of the phantom of the sage was so exquisite that it was natural and at his fingertips. Such a technique had reached the Tao realm. That was an extremely mysterious realm. It was as if his every move was within his opponent's expectations. Every casual punch of his would land on the flaws in his movements, making him feel extremely uncomfortable, as if he was being restrained in every aspect. Even a defensive energy art like the Dark North Body Protector art couldn't stand up to the fist technique of a sage. His chi and blood were roiling, and his body was invaded by the spiraling energy, bruising all over. Bang! The phantom of the saint smashed over and instantly hit Xiaoping's head, sending him flying hundreds of meters away and rolling like a football. Again? Xiaoping's eyes revealed a raging fire. He straightened his body like a carp and immediately jumped up from the ground. He was still as lively as a dragon and a tiger, and was not defeated by a single punch. Because his body was too strong, he cultivated the pure yang immortal incantation, using the essence of the sun to temper his body, and he also had the infernal golden crow bloodline, constantly evolving his body. Recently, he also cultivated the star-attracting art, receiving the power of the stars in the sky, and fusing it with the energy of the pure yang immortal incantation. Yin and yang coexisted, with the taste of water and fire compatibility. If the star-attracting art was cultivated to the great accomplishment realm, it was estimated that he could condense a body of stars. That was a body that even the Star Destroyer cannon could not destroy. Even if a person was in the vacuum of the universe, he could survive. A mere punch was not enough to completely defeat him. Bang bang bang. The Phantom of the Saint had no emotions. It was just an energy puppet. Its mission was to defeat the students who participated in the examination. As long as the students did not fall and did not choose to admit defeat, it would continue to fight. Its punches were like the wind, and one punch after another, it was like a mountain falling from the starry sky to the earth. Moreover, it was not a human, just an energy puppet, so there was no state of power exhaustion like a human. The power of each punch was the same, and it was extremely accurate like a machine. Unmovable Buddha's palm. Xia Ping counterattacked, slapping out like a Buddha, slapping out the taste of unmovable Buddha, and his whole body emitted a golden Buddha light, containing the aura of Buddha's mercy. It was as if this palm was going to subdue the demon, forcing the devil to put down the butcher's knife and repent. Dong. But the Phantom of the Saint only punched out, it was emotionless. The heavenly Tao was heartless, treating all living things as dogs. This was an emotionless punch. The fist of the heavenly Tao seemed to contain the concept of merging one's body with the Tao. In an instant, the power of Xia Ping's palm was shattered, and the force trembled. Myriad Beast's fist. Heavenly Dragon's music. Four Seasons sword art. Clapless palm. Xia Ping used almost all of his martial techniques, but they were all easily broken by the Phantom of the Saint. It was as if the Phantom of the Saint had seen through all the flaws of his fist techniques. Even when a punch landed on the Phantom of the Saint, it was blocked by the Phantom of the Saint, and it was unharmed. It wasn't that these martial arts weren't strong enough, but that he was too weak now, unable to unleash the true power of such martial arts. Too strong. Xia Ping felt that the martial arts of the Phantom of the Saint were as vast as the ocean, unfathomable and unimaginable. This was already another realm of martial arts, and it was beyond imagination. No matter how he moved, it seemed that in the eyes of the saint, he was just a baby learning to walk. The gap was huge. No, even if I attack the Phantom of the Saint, the destructive power is not enough, and I can't defeat this Phantom of the Saint. Xia Ping's eyes flickered, looking for an opportunity to defeat the Phantom of the Saint. Although the Phantom of the Saint beat him very badly, because of the existence of Dark Northa's body protection technique, he was still in an invincible position, and all the fist energy was defended. The Phantom of the Saint could not defeat himself, and he could not defeat the other party. The battle was in a stalemate. Dong. After an unknown period of time, Xia Ping was sweating profusely and panting. The Phantom of the Saint punched his body, and the terrifying spiral energy exploded in his body, sending him flying hundreds of meters. These spiral energies were terrifying to the point of being a mess, spinning wildly and penetrating into the lungs. If he was in his real body now, this punch would probably make him vomit blood and his lungs would be injured. What a strong spiral energy! There is actually such a terrifying martial arts skill in the world, a punch like a mountain, like a whirlpool, making people have nowhere to escape. Any protective qigong will be shattered. Chapter 868. Again? Xia Ping rushed up and fought with the shadow of the saint, feeling the strength of the saint's attack. He felt that fighting with the saint's shadow was very beneficial. It was like a good teacher helping him to find out what he was lacking. As the battle progressed, the flaws in his martial arts moves became fewer and fewer. He already had the feeling of mastering them thoroughly and perfecting them. Although he had the system's enlightenment, which allowed him to learn very quickly, if he wanted his body to truly master these martial arts, even his blood and every cell in his body would be engraved with the memory of these martial arts. Just the help of the system was not enough. The most important thing was to rely on himself, experience and combat. And the saint's shadow had given him great help. This was the pressure of extreme battles between life and death, which allowed Xia Ping's martial arts experience to evolve at the speed of light. There was a trace of the embryonic form of a martial arts master in his body. After all, such an opportunity was too rare. To be able to fight with a saint, even if it was just a shadow, was an unimaginably huge fortuitous encounter. It was probably very difficult even for a king to have such a fortuitous encounter. It could only be encountered by chance. Bang bang bang. The saint's shadow punched, causing Xiaoping's qi and blood to roll and his body to feel numb. It was as if countless ants were biting his body, making him feel very powerless. Golden Crow's Eye. With this realization, Xiaoping was not just fighting with the Saint Phantom. At the same time, he was also observing the Saint Phantom's every move and comprehending the other party's martial arts moves. If it was an ordinary person, it would be impossible to learn the opponent's martial arts skills during a battle. But Xiaoping was different. He had the Golden Crow's Eye. This eye was extremely powerful. Not only did it have extremely strong dynamic vision, but it could also see through things, see far, and even slow down the opponent's attack speed. It could analyze the opponent's strength at all times. It could be said that if Xiaoping wanted to, he could analyze the opponent's every move, know any of the opponent's movements in a second, and understand the opponent's martial arts skills. Although the opponent was a saint's shadow and it was many times more difficult to analyze than ordinary people, he believed that as time passed, it was only a matter of time before he could secretly learn the opponent's martial arts. Time passed bit by bit. So far, he had fought with the saint's shadow for a total of 10 days and 10 nights. According to the comparison of time in the real world and the virtual network, only 1 day had passed in the real world. However, even though Xiaoping's body was like a monster's, he could not withstand such a mental strain. If he were to be punched a few more times, he would not be able to hold on any longer and fall unconscious. However, the saint's phantom was still the same as before. There were no changes and it was like a machine. This situation was simply despairing. This was a huge gap. I've mastered it. However, not only did Xiaoping not feel despair, his eyes shone with excitement. This was because as he fought with the Saint Phantom, he did not know how many punches he had taken. The past 10 or 20 years of his life might not have been as much as he had today. It was likely that every cell in his body had been tortured by the sage's shadow. The pain was engraved in the deepest part of his soul. However, this price was still worth it. As his body battled, he had already comprehended the most basic technique of the spiral energy, and he had mastered the fist technique of the Saint Phantom. So that's how it is. This is the true power of the spiral. How powerful. Xiaoping was very excited. He felt that the earth energy in his body had undergone an earth-shattering change. The earth energy flowed through every meridian and acupoint. It was no longer flowing slowly like before. Instead, a vortex was formed, producing the power of the spiral. Although it was just a change, this change was astonishing. It was like a transformation, as if a primitive man had evolved into a modern man. This was a supreme martial arts technique. Xiaoping could feel that after mastering the spiral power, even an ordinary punch was several times more powerful than before. The destructive power was terrifying to the point of being a complete mess. Dong. At this moment he took a step forward and the entire ground trembled. It was as if an ancient barbaric elephant was trampling. With his body as the center, a terrifying vortex suddenly appeared. It was as if the surrounding atmosphere was revolving around his body, and nothing in the world could escape this power of rotation. The Saint Phantom also seemed to feel this threat. In the face of such a spiral, he felt that his body seemed to be pulled by countless forces, as if there were ropes binding his body. It was as if a Kunpeng had opened its mouth and was crazily devouring him, producing an extremely terrifying suction force. He could not escape. Kill? Xiaoping punched out. It was an ordinary punch like the incarnation of a saint. It wasn't a leap nor was it a shift. It was just an ordinary punch, a punch that was as heavy as Mount Tai. The fist shook and the air exploded. Bang bang bang. There were countless explosions in the void and a series of explosions occurred. From his fist, a terrifying spiral force was produced like a black hole vortex. Such a punch was like Mount Tai pressing down, making it almost impossible to breathe. The Saint Phantom felt great danger, and his body flickered as if he wanted to dodge. But there was no way to dodge. Such a punch had a strong spiral force, and a suction force was produced in the surroundings, as if the Saint Phantom was being sucked in. Dong. This punch landed solidly on the saint's illusory figure. The spiraling force exploded and seeped into the saint's body, causing the void to tremble. In that instant, the surrounding air seemed to have solidified, producing spiraling ripples that swept in all directions. The entire ground of the martial arts school seemed to be a little cracked, and it trembled. With a boom, the sage's shadow exploded and disappeared from this space. And this space returned to silence once again, leaving only Xiaoping in place. Phew! Seeing the Saint Phantom explode, Xiaoping suddenly exhausted his strength and fell to the ground, gasping for breath, sweating profusely and almost collapsing. If this punch did not defeat the Saint Phantom, he would probably have lost. Congratulations to trial challenger Wu Wudi for passing the assessment perfectly. The reward is 10,000 universe dollars. At this moment, a mechanical voice was heard, resounding throughout the martial arts school. Freak! Corinne, who was next to him, saw this situation and the corners of his mouth twitched. He was speechless. He never thought that Xiaoping could actually pass the assessment perfectly. After all, this was the Saint Phantom, not something else. An ordinary martial artist would be killed in one move. But this kid fought with the Saint Phantom for 10 days and 10 nights, and in the end he actually learned the Saint Phantom's martial arts and blew it up with one punch. If this wasn't freak, then what was? He reckoned that when the Star Sect Master was young, he was not as freakish as this kid. It was too exaggerated. After all, this was only a martial arts assessment. It was not about defeating the Saint Phantom, but getting the recognition of the Saint Phantom. If he thought that the other party was qualified, then he would be qualified to pass. Chapter 869. In the Lingyun Nation, somewhere in the distant star region on a certain planet, there were lush trees everywhere like a green ocean. This was simply a world of plants. The largest city on this planet was called Yi Family City because this planet was controlled by the Yi family. The Yi family was the ruler of this planet, controlling the political, economic, and military lifelines of this planet. At this time in the city lord's mansion, a little loli just happened to come home from school. She excitedly returned home and directly threw herself onto a beautiful woman, shouting excitedly, "Sister, sister, today I did something big with Dong Dong and the others. In the future I can also earn money, I can already become an adult." This little loli was the Yi family's little princess, Yi Jiejia. The woman next to her was the little loli's elder sister, Yi Mengyao, the Yi family's eldest princess, and also the peerless genius of the Yi family's younger generation. She stood on the ground wearing a long white dress, showing off her outstanding charm. Her figure was graceful and exquisite. She was simply a goddess of a generation. This was a completely mature little loli, the enlarged version of Yi Jiejia. Earn money? Yi Mengyao was a little confused. Her sister was only 6 years old and she was still in school. How could she earn money? Moreover, she was born in the Yi family, so she didn't need to earn money. She asked curiously, "Jiejia, what happened?" "Sister, I met a kind-hearted native big brother in the virtual network's novice village." The little loli Yi Jiejia said excitedly. "He said he didn't have any universe dollars on him, so he asked me to borrow money." What? Yi Mengyao was shocked. She knew that although her sister was only 6 years old, every New Year's or birthday, there would be a lot of people who wanted to curry favor with the Yi family and give her pocket money. After accumulating for a long time, the money in her sister's bank account was probably more than an ordinary person could earn in a lifetime. This was definitely not a small amount. "What happened? Did you lend it to him?" Yi Mengyao immediately asked. Yi Jiejia nodded. "I lent it to him, a total of 1.3 million federal coins. He said he would borrow it for 100 years and every year he would return me 13,000 federal coins so that I can earn money every year. He even asked me if I was happy." "Sister, am I very powerful? In the future I can earn money every year and I can earn money for 100 years. She revealed a look that said, "Sister, come and praise me. Earn my ass." Hearing this, Yi Mengyao's face turned green. Her beautiful eyes that were like stars revealed a dense murderous aura. Borrowing money for 100 years? Why not just go to the heavens? Why not directly borrow money for 1,000 years? What was the difference between this and giving money to that bastard? Even if the loan period was ridiculously long, it was still acceptable to give some interest, but this brat actually had to pay back 13,000 federal coins every year. Wasn't this paying back his sister according to the principal amount? If it was placed in the bank, there would be an annual interest of 4%. This bastard was crazy. He didn't even want to pay interest and directly snatched his sister's money. He was clearly trying to get something for nothing. He even said that he would be able to earn money every year and for 100 years? She couldn't even see how he could earn money from air. To think that he could come up with such a shameless excuse. He wouldn't even let go of a child's money. He was definitely an invincible liar in the universe. Jia Jia. Yi Mengyao clenched her fists and suppressed the anger in her heart. She suddenly thought of something. You said that Dong Dong and the others also did something big with you. Could it be that they also lent money to that native? That's right, I lent them all. Yi Jiajia nodded her head forcefully. The native big brother also said that if we still have money we can continue to lend it to him. The more the better. We can also let mom and dad join us. Shameless native. Yi Mengyao was now exceptionally angry. Not only did this shameless native cheat her sister, he didn't even let go of a group of children's money. He even wanted to cheat her family. What a wolf's ambition. She asked carefully and became even angrier. The native actually borrowed a total of 23 million universe dollars. This was definitely a huge sum of money in the universe. It was money that ordinary people couldn't earn in their entire lives. But now, it was all swept away by this shameless native, and all of her sister's New Year's money was taken away. Sister, should we lend him some money? We'll be able to earn more money in the future. Yi Jiajia blinked her pure big eyes and bit her finger. She seemed to be calculating her annual income. If she borrowed 10 million universe dollars, she would be able to earn 100,000 universe dollars every year. It was much more than before. Yi Mengyao's mouth twitched. She saw her 6-year-old sister being tricked by this shameless swindler. She was basically sold and she was still counting money for this shameless swindler. Jiajia, you wait here. I'll go discuss it with mom and dad. Yi Mengyao was filled with killing intent. To the Yi clan, a mere million universe dollars was nothing. It was like a drop in the ocean. The problem was that this swindler actually dared to cheat the Yi family. This was a matter of face. No one could cheat the Yi family's things without paying a price. 10 minutes later, Yi Mengyao's parents and uncles all knew about this. What a swindler. He actually dared to cheat my Yi family? Too arrogant. Where is this swindler native? I'll go and settle the score with him immediately. Father Yi was so angry that his beard curled up. He actually dared to bully his precious daughter. He simply didn't want his life. How do we settle the score? The other party is in the universe virtual network. He's even in the novice village. We can't get in at all. Mother Yi said in a bad mood. She was also very angry. He actually bullied her little daughter and cheated her of a large sum of money. This time she must teach that damn swindler a lesson. That's not right. How did that native enter the novice village? People who have opened up the Purple Palace shouldn't be able to enter? Yi Mengyao suddenly thought of this matter. For aliens like them, it was simply impossible for adults to not open up the Purple Palace. It was simply unimaginable. No matter how trash they were, they could open it up and advance to the mortal realm. The problem was, the novice village was a place where children stayed. It was equivalent to a kindergarten. How did this native get in? It didn't make sense at all. He severed his own cultivation. This kid definitely severed his own cultivation. He forcefully lowered his martial arts realm to below the mortal realm. That's why he could return to the novice village. Father Yi clenched his teeth. Try to think about it. A treasure refining realm warrior only earns 10,000 universe dollars a month. Now that he severed his own cultivation, he actually got 23 million universe dollars. If it was according to normal progress, he wouldn't be able to earn this amount of money in his lifetime. But now he's earned it. He cheated 23 million universe dollars. With this money, if he wants to cultivate back in the future, isn't that a matter of seconds? He seemed to have seen through the swindler's true colors. Chapter 870. At the same time, the big families on the various planets of the Lingyun nation were also in a mess. They also knew that their children had been cheated of all their red packet money by a scammer. Moreover, he had plucked the feathers from the geese, leaving no money behind. This shameless scammer even wanted to instigate the children and pull their families into his scam. Instantly, countless descendants of the big families were infuriated. They all wanted to beat him up. Shameless thief. He's simply audacious to the extreme. He even dares to deceive our Lu family. He's courting his own destruction. 1 million universe dollars. He actually wants to pay it back over 100 years. Moreover, it's only 10,000 universe dollars a year. He must be dreaming. Our Lu family's money has fallen into the hands of that scammer for no reason. This is intolerable. A group of descendants of the Lu family gritted their teeth. They did not even have that much money on them. Now that they were cheated by that scammer, this was a great humiliation. Not only the Lu family but even the Yi family, Qin family, Huang family, and other young masters and princesses have been scammed. All of their pocket money has been cheated by that scammer. It's a total of 23 million universe dollars. Someone was well informed and knew about the major events that happened in the big families. Damn, 23 million universe dollars. This is a shocking case. Arrest and execute him immediately. That scammer is dead meat. He has offended so many big families. It's useless even if he runs to the ends of the earth. Call the police immediately. Arrest that scammer and lock him up for a few hundred years. Immediately, many people started cursing. They were actually trying to swindle them, the aristocratic families, and swindle the money of a child. They were simply shameless to the extreme. They had seen scammers before, but they had never seen such a shameless scammer. He had no professional ethics at all. It's useless. There's no way to call the police. Someone shook his head. What? The group was shocked. Someone said angrily, "What nonsense are you talking about? He cheated out 23 million universe dollars and you say there's no way to call the police? Are you kidding me?" Strictly speaking, this is not fraud. It's a private loan and a civil dispute. Even if we call the police won't care about this. That person said in a low voice, "After all, the kid still has a contract. It's just that there's no interest and the time is a little long. In fact, interest-free loans are allowed by law. Unless that kid runs away, there's no way to call the police or file a case." Everyone had to admit it. After all, interest-free loans did exist. Although it was rare, it wasn't impossible. Unless that kid absconded with the money, it wasn't a scam. Then declare the contract invalid. Those are just children. They have no civil capacity at all. The contract they signed is also invalid, someone shouted. You're wrong. The man shook his head. According to the laws of the Lingyun nation, as long as a child is 3 years old, he or she has full civil capacity and can sign a contract on his or her own. Therefore, this contract is legally binding. Being in the universe was different from being on a planet. This was because there were countless races in the universe and some races matured extremely quickly. They could grow from infants to adults in a year and possess the intelligence of adults. This was not surprising. Therefore, the 18-year-old protection law would not work in the universe. After all, these races were special. If they were considered minors and engaged in illegal activities, wouldn't the law become their umbrella? No matter what he did, he wouldn't be punished. Therefore, in order to prevent these races from having special rights, the laws of the Lingyun nation directly stated that children at the age of 3 had full civil capacity. Even if they committed a crime, they would be treated like an adult and wouldn't have any special rights. I guess that's why the scammer chose to deceive the children. He's exploiting a loophole in the law. We can't do anything to him, the man said angrily, clenching his fists. He really is a super scammer. He's calculated everything. Damn it. That scammer must have planned this for a long time. God knows how many years and how many times he's studied the law. It's definitely planned. Think about it, even if he's deceiving a child, an ordinary child wouldn't have much money. They probably wouldn't even have a single universal dollar. It's useless to deceive them. Only the children of the big families would be the real deal. Yes, that scammer must have calculated everything. First, he searched for information on the children of the big families, destroyed his own cultivation, sneaked into the novice village and then carried out his deception plan. Step by step, everything is linked. Can't we do anything to him? We can only watch him get away with it, taking our family's money to eat and drink to his heart's content? I can't accept this. Our family's hard-earned money has all been squandered by him. I can't accept this. Damn scammer. We must capture him and skin him alive. Everyone gritted their teeth. They wanted nothing more than to bite this scammer to death. However, they couldn't even call the police now. They also couldn't use the law to deal with this shameless native. Since the law can't deal with this bastard, then we'll play dirty. This world doesn't only have light, there's also darkness. A man was filled with killing intent. Since the law couldn't do justice for them, then they would do it themselves. In the universe, the strong ate the weak and the strong survived. This was the truth of the universe. A small scammer, did he think he could live peacefully after scamming the big family's money? Yes, find that kid's location. We'll directly drive a spaceship over and arrest him immediately. A man shouted. He wanted to find the scammer's location and kill him immediately. How do we find him? Someone said gloomily, this kid seems to be in the novice village and he's even in the universe virtual network. If he doesn't reveal his location, we won't be able to find him no matter what. Everyone gritted their teeth. The universe virtual network didn't belong to Lingyun Nation. Its power spanned the entire universe. A small nation wanting to shake such a huge entity was a joke. Therefore, it was impossible to track that kid's location through the network. Then let's go to the novice village and find him. That's right. That kid can enter the novice village, but we can't? He's just cutting off his own cultivation. Get a few guards to cut off their own cultivation and teach that guy a lesson. Unless that kid doesn't show himself. Once he does, he's dead meat. No matter how strong the scammer is, there's only one of him. How can he stop us? Yes, let's act immediately. Don't waste time here. If that scammer escapes, all our efforts will be wasted. Chapter 871. Universe Virtual Network Martial Arts Space Novice Village. The door of the martial arts school opened and Xiaoping walked out. He passed the test and immediately felt refreshed. Although his martial arts cultivation did not increase, his strength was not the same as before. If he was just a piece of raw stone before, then after polishing he already had a trace of the shape of a diamond. What's going on? Xiaoping had just walked out of the martial arts school and immediately found that the originally empty novice village was now filled with many people. They were not children but mostly adults. Some people looked fierce and had knife scars on their faces. They were at least 20 or 30 years old. They looked like murderers who had been in the underworld for a long time and killed many people. When these people saw Xiaoping walk out of the school, they surrounded him like hungry wolves seeing a fat sheep. They were very fierce. Kid, what's your name? A man with small eyes stared at Xiaoping. His eyes rolled around, containing a cunning light. He seemed to want to probe Xiaoping's background, but he did not make a move. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He could naturally see that these people were up to no good, but he pretended not to know and stood with his hands behind his back. My name is Wu Wudi. He showed the demeanor of an invincible master. The corners of his clothes fluttered even though there was no wind. Wu Wudi. A man in a black vest laughed out loud. A liar dares to call himself Wu Wudi? You're really bold. Who gave you such courage? Everyone looked at Xiaoping as if they were looking at a fool. A liar should be low-key. That was the most basic excellent character. This way, he would not attract attention and could escape calmly without being discovered by the enemy. He quietly disappeared into the crowd and escaped thousands of miles away. But this kid was good. He was afraid that people would not know his name. He even dared to call himself Wu Wudi. Was he afraid that he would not be beaten up on the streets? Or was he born to be beaten up? Liar? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. What do you mean? You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Who are you calling a liar? Do you know that this is malicious slander? I can sue you. He looked very angry. These words seemed to affect his reputation. Liar, I'm talking about you. You still don't know when you're about to die and you're still pretending to be ignorant. Do you know what you've done? You've cheated so many young masters of aristocratic families of their money. Do you think it's over so easily? Spit out all the money you've swallowed or you'll have to bear the consequences. That's right, hurry up and hand over the money. Do you think a liar like you can swallow this kind of money? Walking in the universe, what kind of money can be swindled and what kind of money can't be swindled, don't you have any idea? If you offend someone you shouldn't offend, you won't be able to escape death even if you flee to a corner of the universe. A group of ferocious men clamored and fiercely glared at Xiaoping. Each and every one of them clenched their fists and made cracking sounds. They stared at Xiaoping like a pack of jackals. So that's how it is. You're talking about me borrowing money? Xiaoping said matter-of-factly, I admit that I did borrow some money from some kind-hearted children, but I've already made a written agreement and decided to pay them back in installments of 100 years. This is the IOU. You can take a look. It's all legal. Even if you call the police, they won't be able to bite me. He waved his hand and a virtual page popped up. There was a written agreement on it indicating that his procedures were legal. This was not a scam but a reasonable loan. There was nothing wrong with it. Legal your ass. The knife-scarred man scolded, whether it's a scam or not, you fucking know in your heart. Don't bite on Wenju's name here. Liars like you all have a glib tongue. You can even make it sound like a song. Who can beat you? He glared fiercely at Xiaoping. I'm not biting on Wenju's name. I'm just trying to reason with you. This isn't a scam, it's a loan. Xiaoping spread his hands. Alright, do you want to lend me 2 million universe dollars in installments of 200 years? I'll pay back 10,000 universe dollars every year. I'll let you earn money every year. I guarantee you won't lose money. If that's the case, your future retirement will be guaranteed. He looked expectantly at this group of men. Scram. The group of men grimaced. Not only did this damn scammer want to scam children, but he also wanted to scam them. He wanted them to lend this scammer $2 million universe dollars in installments of 200 years and 10,000 universe dollars every year. Why didn't this scammer just die? If there was such a sucker, they also wanted to borrow it. The more the better. Also, this bastard's eyes. What was that look in his eyes? Was he looking forward to them becoming retarded and becoming this bastard sucker, a human ATM? Alright, actually, you can think about this from another perspective. Xia Ping changed the topic. This isn't being scammed. It's a benevolent act of helping poor people and rescuing the impoverished natives from the sea of suffering. This is an act of kindness, a great act of love, a great act of love. If you think about it this way, does it make you feel better? A skinny man was stunned and subconsciously said, if you think about it this way, it does feel a lot better. That's right. This money is donated to the poor and not scammed. This way things are completely different. Another man nodded, feeling that it made sense. Xia Ping stood with his hands behind his back. It doesn't matter who the rich person donates to. There's nothing wrong with donating to me now. It's helping the poor anyway. And this isn't a donation, it's a loan. I'll still return it. There seemed to be a holy light on his body. Yes, yes, yes. Brother is right. The two of them nodded repeatedly. Slap, slap. The scar-faced man slapped them, causing them to spin on the spot. He immediately cursed, "Are you fucking stupid? You've really been fooled by this kid. Which scammer doesn't say that? And you still donate to him? Why don't you donate to us? And an act filled with love? You've already given money to a scammer. Isn't it filled with love for a scammer? Don't practice martial arts all day. Grow some brains." He was mad. He didn't expect his companions to have such idiots. If they weren't here, there might really be people who fell for this kid's tricks. They would have to pay their pension and pay it back in installments of 200 years. Kid, I'm not going to talk nonsense with you. If you don't want to hand it over, I have my ways to make you hand it over. When I torture you until you wish you were dead, you'll know how stupid your actions are today. The scar-faced man shouted angrily, his eyes revealing a cruel look. Whoosh. Chapter 872. Boom. The man with a knife scar moved extremely fast. He punched with amazing momentum, which was as heavy and broad as a mountain. The momentum around him condensed into a substance, making people almost breathless. Before entering the novice village, he was a cultivator in the fulfillment realm. Because of the bounty from a big family, he voluntarily cut off his cultivation and fell into the master realm. Because he had just cut off his cultivation, he was seriously injured. At most, he could exert the strength of the sixth sky of Supreme Master. But no matter what, he was a cultivator in the fulfillment realm. If he was in the cloud realm, he would be a king with great strength. Not to mention he was born in the universe where there were many strong people. He had gone through complete training. His fighting skills and fighting consciousness were many times better than the warriors in the cloud realm. Even if he was only in the sixth sky of Supreme Master, he was much stronger than ordinary masters. This liar is dead. The people around him all held their hands and looked like they were watching a good show. Even among the people present, the man with a knife scar was an extremely powerful fighting master who killed people like flies. He was born on the mountain star. The humans living on that planet were all from the mountain tribe. They were born with the power to pull up mountains and knew how to use the power of mountains. When he punched, it was like a mountain falling down, making people have nowhere to escape. Even if they met it head-on, they would be blown away and their bodies would be seriously injured. It is indeed the legendary mountain fist technique. When he punched out, it was heavy, broad, and vast like a mountain falling from the sky. It was unstoppable. This liar would probably be seriously injured with one punch. How dare he call himself Wu Wudi? Why didn't he weigh himself? Someone next to him commented and sneered. As a liar, once he succeeded, he would immediately run away. This was the best strategy. However, this guy was so reckless. He actually stayed where he was as if he was afraid that others did not know he did it. In this way, if he did not die, who would? He asked for it. Mountain fist technique? It's a little imposing. Xia Ping watched the scar-faced man's movements lazily. If he had seen the scar-faced man's martial arts before the battle with the sage's shadow, he might have been a little shocked and felt that this fist technique was many times more exquisite than the one in the cloud realm. It was clearly an ordinary punch, but the technique of the technique was extremely profound. The same amount of strength, but in the hands of the other party, the destructive power was several times stronger. There was no comparison at all. Unfortunately, he had encountered stronger opponents. Although the scar-faced man's martial arts skills were good, compared to the sage's phantom, one was a rooster and the other was a phoenix. There was simply no comparison. Dong. He took a step forward and punched the air. It was an upright and powerful punch. In midair there was a tremor and an explosion. A terrifying spiral force immediately surged out from his fist, as if forming a terrifying vortex of air. Every stream of air condensed into a substance, as if it had assimilated into a death trap to strangle the enemy. What? The scar-faced man was shocked. He instinctively felt the terror of this punch. The spiral force of the opponent's fist was indestructible, like a drill, rumbling. Even if his fist technique was the mountain fist technique, facing this kind of spiral drill, it would be instantly pierced through. In terms of destructive power, the two were not on the same level. But now, even if he wanted to dodge, it was simply too late. It was hard to get off the tiger, so he could only brace himself and urge the power in his body to attack. Bang! The two fists collided and the air instantly exploded inch by inch. It was like a mountain had been destroyed by a terrifying bomb. It was split into pieces, and the huge mountain rocks were blown into powder. Ah! The scar-faced man let out a shrill scream. Even if he had infinitely increased the power of this swindler's fist, when things came to this, he had completely underestimated this native. The fist force was as fragile as a baby, and it was instantly torn into pieces. The fist force passed through the air, vibrating thousands of times and penetrated into his lungs. In an instant, the spiral-like fist force seeped in, crazily destroying his body like a whirlpool. No matter how much he circulated his qigong, he could not expel it. Boom. In the next second, his entire body exploded into pieces, and just like that, he turned into a ball of light, disappearing from the empty space. He did not even have the strength to resist. Impossible. Brother Scar was blown up with one punch? What happened just now? It was too fast, I did not even see it clearly. Brother Scar is a fulfillment realm cultivator, and his strength is tyrannical. Even if he severed his own cultivation, his battle awareness is boundless. How could this swindler be Brother Scar's opponent? What kind of trick did this swindler use to plot against Brother Scar? Many of the men were dumbfounded and did not know what to do. They were originally confident that Brother Scar alone could take care of this despicable swindler. However, who would have thought that even the strongest among them, the man with the scar, could not withstand a single punch from this swindler? He was blown up on the spot and turned into a ball of light. Although this was the universe virtual network, and dying here was not real death, even so, it would still severely damage one's spiritual power, and they would not be able to log in again for a month. In serious cases, it might even affect one's martial cultivation, leaving an indelible shadow. No one wanted to die casually in the virtual network. Too weak. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the group calmly. You want to cause trouble for me, Wu Wudi, with just this bit of strength? Are you guys here to joke around? Have you considered your own strength? All of you attack together. I have something to do later and I'm in a hurry. He indicated that the group could attack together and he would settle it quickly. Since they could not come to an agreement, they would fight until they were convinced. This was the eternal truth of the universe. Whoever had the bigger fist would speak louder, and it made sense. Attack together? Damn swindler, don't be too arrogant. You're really arrogant. You want to take on all of us by yourself? Do you really think you're Wu Wudi? Since he wants to die, why don't we fulfill his wish? That's right. What's the point of talking about morality with a swindler? Attack together, destroy this kid completely, and we'll be able to report back. Attack, destroy him. Suddenly, the group was angered by Xiaoping's arrogant attitude. Everyone's martial cultivation was clearly about the same, and he actually wanted to fight all of them by himself. Just how much did this kid want to look down on them? Although they were all looking for trouble with this kid for money, it did not mean that they had no self-respect. They had been looked down upon to this extent. If they did not fight back, who would take them seriously in the future? Chapter 873. Kill? A man holding a 3-foot-long sword rushed forward. He was a master swordsman, and his swordsmanship had reached the acme of perfection. There were no flaws at all. Even in the universe, the sword was the king of weapons. It was widely used by countless masters. Its power was infinite, and it could kill the monsters that ran amok in the universe. Legend had it that some universe sages used swords, and they were known as sword sages. One sword light could chill 19 continents, and they could even cut a planet in half. The cut was smooth and silent. Even though this man's cultivation was not as terrifying as a sage's, his swordsmanship was much better than the warriors of the Cloud Realm. As the sword slashed down, hundreds of sword chi appeared in the air, intertwining to form a death net. It shrouded down like a laser light curtain of death. If hit, the whole body would be cut into hundreds of pieces and blood would flow. Even the sword chi contained a strong martial arts will. It was murderous and it emitted a strong mental power. It condensed the sword chi and its power increased several times. Go to hell. A gloomy young man in black training clothes rushed forward. He exuded a vicious aura, as if he was a devil who walked out of a pile of corpses. He was barehanded and he slapped down with his palm. This was the famous palm technique in the universe, 7-break palm. What were the 7 breaks? They were the breaking of the heart, the breaking of the blood, the breaking of the tendons, the breaking of the liver and intestines, the breaking of the kidneys, the breaking of the bones, and the breaking of the wrist. One slap would break the whole body. This was an evil palm technique purely for killing. It used the most painful way to kill the enemy and let them suffer. In the universe, people who knew this palm technique were cruel people. They were either killers or villains, and they were perverts who enjoyed torturing the weak. Disappear for me. A man wielding a large saber also roared. He was extremely violent, like an explosive bear, incomparably ferocious. He dragged the large saber and slashed towards Xiaoping. Martial arts secret technique, wind slash. This sword technique was said to be able to split the wind, and its power was infinite. The creator of this saber technique was a saber Dao almighty. He believed that the saber Dao was boundless. With a slash of the saber it could split rocks, gold and even diamonds. These tangible objects were nothing. At most it would have some ferocious power. If one could split an invisible thing like the wind, he could be regarded as a real success in swordsmanship. This kind of swordsmanship was the most ferocious in the world, and it could kill anything with one slash. Although this man did not fully display this swordsmanship, it was still quite terrifying. He almost exerted this overbearing weapon to the limit. When the sword slashed down, the air exploded, and the sword chi form seemed to split the earth in half. Other than that, the rest of the people also made their moves. They were all once at the Purple Mansion realm or the Fulfillment realm. Some were even at the Divine Ability realm. In the Cloud realm, they were all monarchs or even invincible monarchs. Even though they had cut off their cultivation and fallen to the Supreme Power realm, and because they had just cut off their cultivation, their vitality was greatly injured. Their highest cultivation was only at the 6th level of the Supreme Power realm, but their combat effectiveness could not be underestimated. These masters attacked at the same time, and the threat had reached a sensational level. Any master would be scared to death in the face of such an attack. They could only close their eyes and wait for death. However, this group of people did not include Xiaoping. He stood with his hands behind his back, calm and composed. After fighting with the shadow of the sage for 10 days and 10 nights, his nerves had been tempered to the point of steel. These masters attacked at the same time, but it was nothing at all. They could not shake his spirit at all. No matter how powerful these masters were, could they be compared with the sage? They had seen the deep sharks and crocodiles in the sea. How could they be afraid of the ordinary carp in the pond? Dong. At the moment when these people attacked, Xiaoping also attacked. He was simply a master of a generation. Every move was natural. He did not make any special movements. He just blasted out a punch. He had already simplified this move, removing all the complicated and cumbersome moves. It was simple, powerful, and upright. It was just a ferocious punch. However, it was this punch that was terrifyingly powerful. Impossible. The fastest swordsman with the 3-foot-long sword was the first to be punched. In midair, the air kept exploding. The sword chi that he was proud of was invincible. However, under such a spiral fist force, he was as fragile as a baby. He was instantly torn to pieces and all the sword chi was shattered. Even this fist force, inch by inch, spread along the air, constantly vibrating, and reached the body of the swordsman. Ah! With a scream, the swordsman's body was instantly blown to pieces and disappeared. Before he disappeared, there was a trace of astonishment, confusion, and fear in the depths of his eyes. He did not even know how he died or how he was killed. Xiaoping did not care about killing a swordsman. He casually punched again, this time aiming at the young man who had used the 7 breaking palms to attack him. You must be joking. The young man was horrified. His opponent's fist seemed to have turned into a vortex, like a black hole. It produced a terrifying suction force that had the power to devour everything. Originally, his 7 breaking palms was vicious and sinister. It contained 49 layers of force, which was why it could break the meridians of the enemy. It was incomparably vicious. However, this energy was instantly absorbed by the vortex. It was like a black hole swallowing up all the energy. The 7 break palm was completely useless against this brat. No. However, before he could think of how to deal with this native, Xia Ping's fist shattered the 7 breaking palms and directly smashed towards his head. Bang. If time was slowed down by tens of times, one could clearly see that the young man's head was deformed by this punch. It was like a rubber ball being crushed to its limit. With a boom, his head exploded on the spot. Blood splattered everywhere. He was smashed into meat paste by a single punch. It was an extremely miserable death. Even though he was in the virtual network and his real body did not die, dying in such a miserable manner would definitely leave him with severe psychological trauma. He would have nightmares every night. But to Xia Ping this was just a casual punch. He did not care at all. Bang bang bang. One by one the bodies of the evolved masters exploded. He was like a tiger that had entered a flock of sheep. Every punch and every kick exploded with a terrifying spiral force. Once touched, one would either die or be seriously injured. Nothing could block it. The current Xia Ping did not even need to use any martial arts moves. He only needed to throw a punch. As long as he touched his opponent would definitely die. His body would explode and turn into meat paste. Chapter 874. Huh. There's no one left? After an unknown period of time, Xia Ping finally stopped. He had been immersed in comprehending the spiral power and had not noticed the situation around him. When he stopped, the people around him had been beaten up one by one. They turned into balls of light and disappeared on the spot. They would not be able to log into the virtual network again for a month. At this time, those people were forced to exit the virtual network one by one and return to the real world. What's going on? Why are we out so soon? Where's that damn swindler? Did he catch that kid and beat him up? Yeah, it doesn't matter if he has money or not. Our Huang family is not short of money. The most important thing is to teach that swindler a lesson and let him know that not everyone's money can be swindled. That's right. Do we still have face if we let that kid continue to get away with it? We don't even dare to speak loudly when we go out for a walk. A group of aristocratic children immediately surrounded this group of people. They all looked at these people who had self-severed their cultivation and wanted to know how badly the swindler had been beaten up. However, the group of people looked very embarrassed and could not say anything. This was because this group of aristocratic children was too excited. All of them thought that they had captured the swindler easily, but now they were so miserable. Not only did they not teach the swindler a lesson, but they were also taught a lesson by the swindler and their bodies were beaten up. One of the aristocratic children could also see that the mood of this group of people was different. If they had really taught the swindler a lesson, how could they be so depressed? It was as if they had been cheated of millions. He immediately asked, "Looking at your expressions, could it be that you have failed the mission?" "Sorry, we are incompetent. We have indeed failed the mission this time." The scar-faced man and the others were very ashamed. We really did not expect that kid to be so strong. Every punch and kick had terrifying power. We were no match for him at all. Just a few punches and kicks and we were beaten up. We were forced to exit the virtual network. He wanted to bury his head in the ground. Previously, they had been so confident that teaching a swindler a lesson would be as easy as turning over their hand, as simple as drinking water. Who would have thought that they would be the ones taught a lesson and given a martial arts lesson? Beaten up in a few punches and kicks? Are you guys crazy? A young master from an aristocratic family yelled, "You guys have the advantage in numbers. There were 20 to 30 of you, and each of you could have drowned him with just a mouthful of saliva. Now you're telling me that even with 20 to 30 of you working together, they were still beaten up by that brat and killed with just a few punches and kicks. Do you fucking think that I'm a fool? Did you fall into that brat's trap, or did you fall into his evil trap?" He did not believe the words of this group of people at all. One person had defeated a formation of 20 to 30 people, and they were all at the same cultivation level. It was simply too exaggerated. Even he couldn't do it himself. No, it's not that I've fallen for the other party's evil tricks, it's just that the other party is too strong. He's like a demon god. Every punch and kick of his contains terrifying power. Anyone who touches him will definitely die. This kid is simply a monster. He's not just a swindler. His martial arts cultivation is unfathomable. The scarred man and the others all spoke up, indicating that they were not careless, nor were they fooled. They had attacked together, but they were still no match for the swindler and were all defeated. Recalling what had just happened, all of them were incomparably terrified. The swindler's punch was like a black hole, like a whirlpool, instantly absorbing all the power of their attacks, unable to cause any damage to the swindler. However, the other party's punch produced a terrifying suction force. Even if they wanted to escape, it was useless. They were entangled by the tyrannical power of the whirlpool, unable to escape. Even that whirlpool power penetrated everything, instantly piercing through their bodies. Their body protection techniques could not even withstand it for a second. The difference was simply too great. This kind of power was not something that mortals could withstand. It seemed to have the aura of a saint. What? Many of the young masters from aristocratic families were shocked. They did not expect these people to actually say such things. One person might be able to lie, but with so many people lying together, it was simply impossible. If you don't believe me, we recorded a video just now. You can take a look, the scarred man said in a deep voice. When they acted, they all turned on the recording function on their bodies. Everything that happened was recorded. This was also their habit when carrying out tasks, to be able to leave enough evidence to convince the employer. Many people immediately watched and soon saw Xiaoping attack. He was like a fierce tiger entering a flock of sheep, showing great divine power, blowing up one grandmaster after another with one punch. He was invincible and tyrannical. They were also people who knew what was good and what was bad. They all knew that Xiaoping's martial arts skills were terrible and had already reached the acme of perfection. Moreover, he had also mastered a peerless martial art, making him invincible. It was with this mysterious martial art that a group of people could not achieve anything and were blown up with one punch, dying extremely miserably. Impossible. Seeing this video, a knowledgeable young master immediately shouted, "Whirlpool power!" Isn't this the profound meaning that only saint-level martial arts can master? This is the mystery of the big sects, a secret that is not passed on to others. How did this kid know? Where did he learn it from? He was very shocked and could not believe his eyes. This martial art was extremely powerful, and in some big sects, only disciples with extremely high status were qualified to learn it. Even he did not have such a qualification, but this swindler did, which was unacceptable to him. He actually knows a saint-level martial art. No wonder we were no match for him. No wonder I felt that the opponent's fist technique was almost unstoppable. With just one punch, it actually broke through our power completely, leaving nothing behind. Moreover, it is extremely fierce and contains a terrifying penetrating power. Even with protective qigong, we can't resist it. Yes, if it was in the real world, I'm afraid that we would be dead with one punch and no one would be able to resurrect. Everyone's pupils shrank. Could it be that this swindler had a powerful background? Otherwise, how could he know a saint-level martial art? This was a mystery that could not be learned even with money. The eyes of many young masters also flickered, thinking about the identity of this swindler. Ding dong, suddenly the scarred man's communication device rang, and he received a message. He subconsciously opened it, and suddenly his expression became extremely strange. What's wrong? Someone immediately saw the change in the scarred man's expression and asked. That Wu Wudi sent me a message. The scarred man looked confused because he did not know how his communication number was leaked. It seemed that he did not have any contact with Wu Wudi. In fact, this was because of Corinne's help. It was a high-level AI, and once it came into contact with the other party in the virtual world, it could obtain certain information on the other party. Things like communication numbers, which were not strictly confidential, were too easy to find out. What message did he send? Many people looked at the scarred man. Chapter 875. What? Hearing this, many young masters were dumbfounded. What did he mean? Since he couldn't beat them, he planned to go to the novice village and beat their sons? Did this kid know what he was saying? No matter how imaginative they were, they didn't expect this damned liar to do such a thing. Shameless liar. One of the young masters immediately cursed. Look at what this guy is saying. Since he can't deal with us, he's going to deal with those kids. Does he have any shame? Does he know what he's saying? He was furious. He had never seen such a person in his life. He made it sound so righteous and dignified as if he was very reasonable, but if he thought about it carefully, he was simply bullying a child. It was one thing for a dignified adult to sever his own cultivation and enter the novice village to become a king, but he still had the cheek to say that he could dominate the novice village and be invincible. Did this kid have any shame? He was just invincible among a group of 5 or 6-year-old children. What was so great about that? He's indeed a liar. His skin is thicker than a chopping board. Bullshit Wu Woody. Did he make such a name for himself by beating up children? He's always bullying 3-year-olds. No wonder he's never lost. He even bullies children. There's nothing that bastard can't do. Although I'm a murderous tyrant, I can't stand it anymore. He's not human. He's a beast. A super beast. Compared to that bastard, we villains are as pure as angels. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Xia Ping's words had completely stunned them. They were speechless. Who would have thought that this kid was so outrageous and would do such a despicable thing? But they had to admit that this kid's threat was real. After all, the children of the big families were learning in this novice village. There was no way for them to go to other novice villages. This was an iron rule of the virtual system. Some people said that this was just the universe virtual network. If there was danger, wouldn't it be fine if they didn't go? The problem was, how could they not go? First of all, this martial arts space was created by countless sages. There were many fortuitous encounters left behind by the sages. Once they obtained it, they would reach the heavens in a single step. If a sage took a liking to him and became his disciple, he would be able to do whatever he wanted in the universe. Even his family would benefit. When a man achieves the Tao, his fowls and dogs also ascend to heaven. Of course, these were all secondary. After all, not everyone was lucky enough to be chosen by a sage. Most people were interested in the internal time of the martial arts space. Compared to the outside world, the time in the martial Tao space was 10 times slower. If he studied in this martial arts space, he could increase the learning time by 10 times, which was a great benefit for children. He had more time to sharpen himself. But if he didn't enter the martial path space, he wouldn't have such an opportunity. For a long time, these aristocratic families were simply unable to cultivate truly outstanding descendants. It was unknown how many geniuses had been held back by this brat. This was a loss that they could not tolerate. You still want to threaten us? You must be dreaming. A young master from an aristocratic family roared, immediately replied to that brat. If he dares to touch a single hair of our family's descendants, I'll make him suffer the consequences. He fiercely threatened and ordered the knife-scarred man to reply to Xia Ping, telling this brat not to act rashly. The consequences of offending all the aristocratic families were not something he could imagine. The knife-scarred man nodded and immediately replied to the message, saying that they would never accept Xia Ping's threat. If he knew what was good for him, he would immediately return all the money he had cheated and apologize to all the aristocratic families. Otherwise, this matter would definitely not end. Soon, Xia Ping replied to the message with a simple word, scram. Seeing this reply, many of the aristocratic family's descendants flew into a rage. Too arrogant. Who does he think he is? He even told us to scram? He's fearless. This brat is simply fearless. He doesn't take us seriously at all. Capture him. Immediately capture this brat from the novice village and torture him ruthlessly. A group of people was furious and gnashed their teeth. As aristocratic families of various large planets, it was unknown how many people they controlled. Ordinary people would be respectful when they saw them, not daring to slight them in the slightest. However, this brat was extremely daring. He actually dared to shout at them to scram in front of their faces. This was a direct insult. Even Buddha would be somewhat angry when faced with this kind of thing. But this brat has even cheated money from children. If we still dare to act rashly, perhaps the children of our clans will really be bullied by this brat. Someone's expression was very ugly. The other party was a deranged bastard. There was nothing he couldn't do. He did not doubt the other party's determination to threaten their clans. If the other party really did such a thing, then the children of their clans would probably be greatly traumatized. Their martial arts foundation would be damaged, and this would ruin the hope of an era. They would never allow such a thing to happen. For the time being, we can't let the children of our clans log on to the virtual network. Let them stop for a period of time. We absolutely cannot accept this shameless brat's threat. That's right. If everyone does this, it will be disastrous in the future. Will everyone be able to threaten our clans like this? This source must be contained. Everyone clenched their fists. They absolutely would not accept this threat. However, someone shook his head and said in a deep voice, The problem is, we can let the children of our clans not log on to the martial arts space for a while, but it's impossible for them to do so for a lifetime. He indicated that this was only a temporary solution and could not solve the problem fundamentally. This is not a big problem. We will continue to find some masters to enter the novice village and kill this brat. We will kill him every time we see him until he doesn't dare to show his face. That's right. Even if this brat has mastered the martial arts of the saint, it seems that he is only at the 4th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Compared with those at the peak of the Supreme Power Realm, there is still a considerable gap. Indeed, the reason why the Knife Scar brothers failed this time is that they underestimated the other party. He has just cut off his cultivation and is still injured. He rushed in a hurry. Isn't he just sending himself to his death? That's right. The next time he goes in, he won't have a good time. The other party is only one person. We have the advantage in numbers. What's there to be afraid of? When the time comes, even if we rely on numbers, we can kill him. What's there to be afraid of? This liar probably doesn't know the horror of our aristocratic families. This time we can let him see who he can offend and who he can't. Chapter 876. Soon this news was passed back to the Yi family. When Yi Mingyao learned about it, she immediately became furious. This damn swindler is shameless. He even bullies a child. Is he still human? Yi Mingyao was so angry that her pretty face turned red. She couldn't imagine if her sister Yi Jiajia entered the virtual network and was caught by the hateful swindler and beaten up. She would probably be heartbroken. If it was just a beating, it wouldn't be a big deal. Usually this little loli was always mischievous and wished for the world to be in chaos. If she was beaten, she could still be taught a lesson. What she was most afraid of was that this damn swindler was a super pervert. If he did such an indescribable thing to her sister, even if she killed the swindler a dozen times, it wouldn't be enough. She was really angry and immediately used some means to send an email to scold Xia Ping. Not long after, Xia Ping, who was in the virtual network, also received this news. Ding dong, Corinne's expression was strange. You received a message. As a AI, it was responsible for assisting Xia Ping in dealing with similar matters. Xia Ping didn't need to do it himself. In fact, since Xia Ping provoked the children of many aristocratic families, they were immediately angered to death. They crazily sent messages to harass and abuse Xia Ping. However, it intercepted all of them and treated them as garbage. Seeing this situation, it was completely speechless. Before, it had told this kid to be low-key and not cause trouble. This motherfucker just entered the virtual network and caused such a big trouble. Unexpectedly, he suddenly faced the children of many aristocratic families in the entire Lingyun nation. It could be imagined that if this guy really dared to appear on any prosperous planet in the Lingyun nation, he would be caught and beaten up. Its heart was cold and its intestines were green with regret. If it knew that this kid could cause so much trouble, it wouldn't have found this bastard to be the descendant of the Star sect even if it was beaten to death. It was clear that the Star sect was not destroyed fast enough. Even the original Star sect master was not as good at causing trouble as this guy. However, now that it had boarded this kid's pirate ship, it was hard to get off. Even if it wanted to get rid of him, it was too late. Corinne's face was sullen. As an AI that advocated low-key and hoped to be a coward, it expressed that it was under a lot of pressure. Seeing these messages, it felt frightened. It seemed that someone would come over to kill them through the network. What message? Did those idiots send us some threatening messages again? If that's the case, block it immediately and ignore it. Xia Ping waved his hand lazily. Corinne shook his head. It's not those people but a woman and a voice. After saying that, he released the voice. Xia Ping blinked his eyes. He had no idea what this extraterrestrial woman was saying because she was speaking the universal language, which was completely different from the Yanhuang language. It was like a heavenly book. However, the only thing that could be confirmed was that this voice was very pleasant to the ears. It was as sweet as a lark's chirping. Even if it was angry, there was still a different kind of feeling to it. Translate it, Xia Ping ordered. Corinne indicated that the main meaning of this voice was to tell Xia Ping not to bully children, and to immediately hand over all the money he had swindled, and to consciously go to prison for a few years. Afterwards, he should turn over a new leaf and not do this kind of illegal and criminal thing. If he didn't do as she said, she would expose Xia Ping on the internet and turn him into a rat that everyone wanted to kill. At least within the Lingyun nation's jurisdiction, there would be no place for him. Stupid woman. Xia Ping gave the extraterrestrial woman a simple and direct evaluation. She thought that with a few threatening words he would obediently go to prison. She really thought too highly of him. It was simply wishful thinking. If threats were useful, then what was the point of having the police? He also replied with a message, the gist of which was that this kind of thing was a man's matter, and women shouldn't come and interrupt. As a woman, she should obediently stay at home and take care of the children. Don't come out all day to show your face, cause trouble and attract bees and butterflies. If there was really nothing to do, then learn embroidery, cooking, gardening, arranging flowers and so on, and deal with some housework such as sweeping the floor. If she still felt bored, then invite a few of her close friends out to talk about some trivial family matters, gossip about all kinds of right and wrong, drink afternoon tea and kill time. This was what women were suitable to do. If she continued to be so unruly and unreasonable, be careful that she wouldn't be able to get married in the future and no one would marry her. Xiaoping said a lot, saying that he was doing it for the other party's good. He also taught the extraterrestrial woman what the 3 obediences and 4 virtues were, which was to follow her father when she was unmarried, follow her husband when she was married, and follow her son when her husband died. She also had to pay attention to her womanly virtues, a woman's words, a woman's appearance and a woman's work. In this way, there was a high probability that she would become a good woman and not become an unruly shrew. After saying these words, Xiaoping immediately felt satisfied. He felt that he had finally saved a naked woman, as if he had done a great deed. There's nothing else, time to go offline. Xiaoping felt that there was no point in staying in the virtual network anymore. After all, he had stayed for 10 days and 10 nights, and he had also experienced the battle with the sage's shadow. He was very tired and it was better to go offline and rest. With a whoosh, his figure disappeared from the virtual network. However, when these words were transmitted to Yi Mengyao, she exploded in anger on the spot. Like a kitten whose tail had been stepped on, she immediately jumped up. Her pretty face was red with anger, and her head seemed to smell a little smoke. There was no need to mention how angry she was right now. She simply wanted to eat this beast Xiaoping alive. As the princess of the Yi family, she was a natural beauty, known as a goddess and had amazing aptitude. She had the title of the next head of the Yi family, and this shameless liar actually dared to curse that she would not be able to get married. It was not that she was bragging, but the people who pursued her could surround a planet, and the entire star field was filled with her pursuers. If that was the case, then so be it. At most, the liar's eyesight was bad and he might even be blind. What made her the most angry was this damned liar's manly personality. He actually thought that women should not come out to show their faces and attract bees and butterflies, and that they should stay at home and take care of their children. When they had nothing to do, they would go out for afternoon tea. This was discrimination, blatant discrimination. The feudal era had perished for who knew how many years, and men and women had long been equal. In such a prosperous era of martial arts, the strength of women would not be much weaker than that of men, and even female saints emerged one after another. But this shameless man actually had such dirty and outdated thoughts. He was simply the dregs of the feudal era, the remnants of the fallen era. This shameless man was simply living in a dream. Sisters, I'll let you see what is called a top-quality man. Chapter 877. Yi Mengyao immediately posted Xiaoping's words in the chat group, and it immediately exploded with many of her best friends who were lurking and peeping. Oh my God, where did this man come from? He can even say such things. He said that women should stay at home and take care of their children. Women can do a lot of things. A woman was immediately angered to death. She especially disliked such remarks. The era of slavery has long since ended. This man is simply living in a dream. What 3 obediences and 4 virtues? How did this bastard think of it? Speak, who is this guy? He actually dared to offend Goddess Yi. He's too bold. A group of female friends chattered. They were all goddesses and fairies of the various sections. Because they were on good terms with each other, they became bosom friends. They would often chat in the chat room. But usually only 2 or 3 of them would talk. The rest were all lurking. But these words exploded many of the lurking girls. They were all filled with righteous indignation. This bastard is a native and a super liar. He doesn't even let children go. He's simply a universal scumbag. Yi Mengyao finally found an outlet to vent, and immediately told him everything that Xiaoping had done, no matter how big or small. After listening to these words, many of the girls could be considered knowledgeable, but they were still shocked by these things. Beast, he actually destroyed his own cultivation and sneaked into the novice village to cheat children. He even did this kind of thing. This man's skin is thicker than the city wall. He even lied to children and said that he was a native. He's very pure and doesn't know how to lie. What kind of country bumpkin is there? Is there anyone more shameless than that guy in the world? As a fellow human, I despise the appearance of such scum. It's fine if he can't beat others, but he actually used children to threaten them. Does he even have any shame? As expected, he's invincible, a super weirdo in the universe. He dares to call himself Invincible Wu with his conduct? He's too arrogant. He's a villain who's intoxicated by success. Where is that man? I'll immediately gather 180 thugs. This time if I don't beat him until he calls me mommy, I won't let him go. This is too infuriating. Capture him immediately and lock him up for a few hundred years. If we don't capture such a beast, will we still be safe when we travel the universe in the future? Many women were so angry that their teeth itched. Although they weren't the ones involved in this matter, they were still infuriated by this matter. They felt that the man was shameless. But that bastard knows that as soon as he shows his face, everyone will want to beat him up, so he purposely hides in Novice Village and doesn't come out. Relying on his little bit of strength in Novice Village, he proclaims himself king here. Now no one can do anything to him. Yi Mingyao was very depressed. According to her true strength, she could beat up 10,000 of those scammers, but she couldn't enter the virtual network's Novice Village at all. Moreover, severing one's own cultivation was something that would greatly damage one's vitality for an expert of her realm. It could even damage one's martial arts foundation. Such a foolish thing could never be done. Therefore she could only watch the swindler strut around. I'm fine. Invincible in the Novice Village? It's simply a dream. Sister Yi, don't worry. I don't have much here, but I have a lot of people. Many experts can temporarily seal their cultivation and sneak into the Novice Village. This kind of power is enough to beat that swindler. That's right. Once we catch that swindler, we must not let him get away with it. He has already deceived a child. If we don't punish him, is there still justice in this universe? Many of her girlfriends shouted. They patted their chests to show that they had many helpers around them. They could completely seal their cultivation to the Supreme Power Peak realm. According to such strength and martial arts realm, even if they were in the Novice Village, they could only exert the strength of the Supreme Power 9th realm. However, beating up a cheeky swindler was just a piece of cake. Thank you, sisters. If this matter succeeds, teach that swindler a lesson for my sister. After it's done, I will definitely repay you. Yi Mingyao was very grateful. With the help of so many sisters, it was easy to deal with such a swindler. Just you wait, damn swindler. Don't show your face. Once you show your face, you'll be in trouble. Yi Mingyao clenched her fist and gritted her teeth, revealing a fierce look. At this time, Xiaoping had already logged out of the Virtual Universe Network and was staying in the depths of the 88th Ruin Space. Ahem. Xiaoping's eyes flashed. He found that he had logged out of the Virtual Universe Network. His soul returned to his body. Immediately, the large amount of martial arts experience he had gained in the Virtual Universe Network surged out like a tidal wave. Countless pieces of martial arts essence merged into his body. It was as if they were about to become one. Oh. Xiaoping took a deep breath. He felt all the cells in his body tremble. Because of the martial arts experience and the stimulation of his soul, it immediately activated the majestic medicinal power hidden deep in his body. Rumble. Immediately, the medicinal power rushed into his Dantian's Qi. It instantly transformed into a large amount of earth energy. In just a few breaths, his entire Dantian's Qi was filled. Ping ping ping. With the rapid expansion of the earth energy, the acupoints in his body were broken one by one. A large amount of earth energy rushed into these newly opened acupoints. 1, 2, 3, all the way to the 12th acupoint. In just half an hour, he had actually raised his cultivation to the peak of the 4th level of the Supreme Power Realm. If he broke through another acupoint, he would be able to advance to the 5th level of the Supreme Power Realm. I still need a little more energy. Xiaoping's eyes flashed. He immediately took out a large amount of spirit liquid from his space ring. These were all obtained from the Sky Demon battlefield. He usually couldn't use them all. Now they came in handy. Walala, a large amount of spirit liquid rushed in from the 108,000 pores on his body. This was like adding a new force. It was also like adding fuel to a flame burning quickly. At this moment, every meridian was like a surging river. His body seemed to be producing intense vibrations, constantly tempering every bone in his body. It's time. Xia Ping clenched his fists. He felt that the earth energy in his body was extremely dense. He immediately operated the pure yang immortal art and rushed all the earth energy into the newly opened acupoints. Dong. Immediately, as if a door had been smashed, he entered a new world. The huge amount of earth energy that seemed to have no place to pour out was madly rushing into this newly opened acupoint, the 5th level of the Supreme Power Realm. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.